whole bottle.
Anyone else?
Okay. So we're gonna open the February 22nd, 2016 Selectmen's meeting, and it's about 6:35. Can we stand to pledge allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. So do we have anyone for public comment? Nobody.
Jay, do you want public comment? Okay.
I guess, I'm just here, I'm here and
Gonna have to go
You
to
have to go to the podium and just say who you are.
I'm Jay Condon, a Groveland resident, Vice President of Kentucky Youth Football. I was just here, just trying to get a little bit of outside information about the future use of the fields at the Pines. And that's about it, just trying to get some answers. Don't necessarily need to do it and take up too much time in a meeting. I could do
Yeah,
probably some of that privately.
The use of the fields, the football fields,
Yeah,
I believe they're going to be hopefully doing a sprinkler system, Denise, well, and maybe doing some fertilizing work and seeding work. It could be up in the air right now, because I read an email today saying that they want to maybe possibly rebid it again, so might
Okay.
prolong it. I think the use would probably still be able to be used, but
sure.
under the condition it's in, and maybe doing a little bit of blood, sweat, and tear.
It's still better than Strawberry
Yeah,
Fields where
and
we came
I
from.
think you have to
so-
get, I don't know if you have to get a permit for that?
Yes, so.
Yeah,
do you
still
know
will
your
need one.
schedule, because I do have other groups looking to use that field.
I do. Do you want those dates now? I can give those to you?
You can email me or give them to
Okay.
me after.
Yeah,
But-
I can email you that stuff. if you
Okay,
need.
yeah, because before I present the other dates of the other groups looking, I mean, that field was really for football and lacrosse was really the two groups that, so I want to make sure that you have access to the fields.
Is there, do you know offhand if there's something about like certain days that would be advantageous? Say, if we had to give up like a day during the week or something during that fall season or a couple days?
Just put together your schedule,
Okay,
and then I'll talk with Denise about where it meshes with the other groups that are looking to use it,
okay.
and then we'll put together a schedule off of that.
And is there still any idea in terms of long-term about permanent lighting? Or is that something that's kind of up in the air still?
So the lighting component, there is some lighting, but the lighting that was gonna be the addition to the utility fields, I don't believe the Recreation Committee put in an additional article this year.
Okay.
So I don't believe they're expanding that, at least this year.
Because we're just looking at it from our standpoint in terms of budgeting for the next season, whether or not we should either buy, portable light towers. And again, it's more for late in the season for us, when it gets dark early,
Can-
or
Right,
rent them.
right. Can you, make sure you get his email for me?
Yeah,
I'll get it from Mike.
Because,
Do you have it?
yeah, okay.
No,
I want to send him an email, I get,
Yes,
And you wanted to also talk about an additional storage hut down there?
yeah, I was just gonna talk about that.
yeah. What we were thinking was one thing we ran into last season, because you're dealing with levels of kids from third grade all the way up to eighth grade. And we found, especially late in the year when it got dark, we had all our stuff kind of tucked in the one corner. Everyone was kind of trying to be all in one field. We weren't using that upper field at all. So we were looking at buying like a nicer, like a wooden, whatever, cedar-sided shed. We could even put something, if it meant putting something like the Pines or something like that, we'd be willing to foot the bill from our league. And then that way we could put some stuff in there so that the younger kids could practice up on that area and put the stuff away.
So a couple of things on that. I spoke to the road commissioner, and he said he'd be happy to meet you over there someday to
On a
scope out
location.
an area that would actually work.
Okay.
Just because of the irrigation and things like that, we
Yep.
want to make sure it's going to be in a
Absolutely.
usable location. And secondly, anything, if you're going to put like a portable shed, then that's fine. Anything with a foundation would then become town property.
Yeah, it wouldn't be, it
So-
would definitely be something that if it had to be moved by a bobcat with, something like that, we could move it, yeah.
Yep, so we can
On cinder
coordinate.
blocks or,
We can
okay.
coordinate to meet someday and go over there and figure out what the best location is.
All right, great.
okay.
Right.
Okay, great.
I had thought there was going to be a phase tour or some sort of plan for additional lighting over there at the Pines presented to the, CPC, but it never came before. I'm on that committee as a rep from the Board of Selectmen, and was at the meeting with Mike Dempsey, and I think we thought it was gonna be presented to us, and I don't know if the right hand didn't know if the left hand was doing, or if it slipped through the cracks, but I thought there would be a proposal for additional funding for the,
Yep,
because at the special town meeting, we solved some problems, but for certain reasons, it wasn't the, it did not include the lighting. There were some limitations on the amount of funds that were available, or something like that.
Okay.
So, I don't know if that's something you guys wanna, work on
I mean, we've used to budgeting it in, like when we were over at Strawberry Fields, we never had lights over there, so we had kinda, it was something we always kinda factored in with budgeting of getting, lighting, portable lights and stuff like that.
It makes sense to have lights from, not only a safety standpoint, but also, I mean, it's practical. We get daylight savings in the fall.
Yeah, that's what I mean, it
And
always
fi-
ends up being like the last
Five,
month of the
5:30,
season.
it's pitch black and you get kids.
Exactly,
So, we need lighting in the fall,
yep,
no matter how you get the lighting.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know.
like I say, if we gotta provide it, we'll provide it. In the meantime, we've done it in the past. It's just, running as a 503B nonprofit. Any way we can cut costs and, with us, it's fundraising and doing stuff like that in terms of helping offset the costs for everything. So, if the town ends up putting it in, it would just obviously benefit us as a
Yeah, I think
league.
if you guys could
We
get.
could bring costs, in turn, it helps us knock off the cost for kids playing, everything else. It's all,
If
it all
you
goes
can get a
together.
plan before CPC, then maybe we can act on it next year,
All right, I'll talk with John Gore, who's my president also, and talk to him. Maybe he can put something together.
Right.
Okay.
Anyone else have anything else? Good. All right.
So get us that schedule and the kind of description of that
Yep,
hut, and then we'll work from there.
excellent.
And
Thank you for
Cassandra will
coming
get
in.
some contact info for us.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so you're gonna do approve the warrants for me?
Yes. Motion to approve payroll warrant number 16-35 and the amount of $147,173.05.
So moved. Any further discussion? And all in favor?
Motion to approve deduction warrant number 16-33A in the amount of $24,365.92.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Motion to approve bill warrant number 16-35 in the amount of $743,110.76.
So moved. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, all set. So we have appointments, which we don't have any tonight, it looks like. And moving down, under discussions and possible vote, we have the Council on Aging and Affordable Housing Committee to present findings per BOS request.
Hi, good evening. My name is Lynn Stanton. I'm the director at the Groveland Council on Aging. We're here tonight following the Board of Selectmen's request that we, the Council on Aging Board, meet with the Affordable Housing Group with regard to the property in front of River Pines, that 3/4 acre plot. We met with you on December 28th. We did do that. We met with Affordable Housing on January 25th. It was a very positive and a very productive meeting. You received already a letter from Bruce Adams dated February 5th indicating their willingness and their vote all in favor to release their interest in that property. We appreciated that very much. It is, as they mentioned and as is noted in that letter, very much is a useful spot for a senior center, both because of the structure, the infrastructure there, and proximity to so many good things in town. So that was much appreciated, a very positive, again, very positive meeting. So the Council on Aging is here now. We've brought with us members of our board, of the Council on Aging, as well as president of the Friends of the Council on Aging, to ask the Board of Selectmen to transfer the right to use the property to the Council on Aging as an initial step in our senior center initiative.
Okay. She's staring at me, so I'm not gonna say nothing to her. I'm gonna be nice. We're gonna get along. But anyway,
Who could you mean?
anyway, I think it's great. I think that you guys obviously did what we asked, and it's a step in the right direction.
Right.
I can say I'm 100% in favor for it. I would like to see it get transferred to you guys, and hopefully you guys can do something good with that property. And
Absolutely.
in the interim, I ask that as you look at it for what you need, if anyone else needs any other, you know, if you're gonna build a facility, or if it needs to accommodate someone else, let's look at it. And I say personally, I say go forward, and I'll stamp it.
Go forward and prosper.
Yeah. Anyone else on the board want to say anything?
No, Lynn, if this is approved, which it probably will be, what's your next step?
Well, we will gather as a board and seek community input. We will seek input from knowledgeable folks within the town who have experience going forward with this sort of thing. We'll also be contacting folks at the state Executive Office of Elder Affairs to see what we can gather by way of funding, any grant opportunities, things of that nature. You know, we'll look at many options, and we will, at each point, come before you as a board to let you know where we're at. You know, some interesting things might emerge, and it'd be useful to share that information with the board.
It's great.
Just to follow up, do you know of any funding available through the state?
At the moment, no.
Okay.
That doesn't mean that it's not out there, but now that we're closer to having that plot of land available to us, I think we can go forward with more authority and say, okay, what's out there? Here's what we have available right now. Here's some options and opportunities. But I think this transfer or willingness to allow us to use that property will go a long way toward that.
Okay. Go ahead.
When you say transfer, was it just kind of a Board of Selectmen decision that promised it to it wasn't
Correct.
anything legal? There's no deed that says you
No.
guys.
It is and always will be town-owned property.
I understand that, but it was
Yeah.
kind of earmarked, so to speak,
Yes.
for
Yes.
affordable housing, and it's not needed for anything else type of thing.
They had come
Was
before us.
there ever a survey? Is it suitable for something?
Yep,
Is
yep,
that
no
legwork
problem.
already been done?
They had done, to be transparent, they had done, the Affordable Housing Group had done a fair amount of work with regard to building on that piece of property.
It's buildable, you can put something there, no
Correct,
problem.
correct.
It's right behind the fire station.
And right in
Affordable
front
housing,
of,
their problem was funding.
Funding.
right. It's everybody's problem.
Right.
Now it's your problem?
Now it's my problem.
So it's just like, it's a hot potato?
Right.
Right.
So I think that in what you just asked was, we were originally thinking of trying to do affordable housing and council on aging center, but when the housing fell through, they needed to come back before us to get permission to go ahead and move with that. In the last meeting, that's why I said, go back to them, get their good
Right.
graces to go forward. They're not gonna do
Right.
nothing with it.
So
Now
they
they're
look-
clean to go.
So they let it go as a
They let it
courtesy,
go
and
as a
now you.
courtesy,
As
and
a
these guys have-
huge kindness, and it didn't, and we wanted to be certain that you're aware, it didn't diminish the town's need for affordable housing. It didn't diminish
I
our
understand.
interest in that area as well.
Right.
Because it will always benefit folks 60 and over.
Right.
The ability to have a reasonable place to live within the town.
And-
So it didn't diminish that.
And what I said a minute ago was, I know you guys had come before us before, don't quote me on the number, but maybe 5 or 10,000 square feet. So as you look at the project, my point being is, don't stick the 5,000 square feet right in the middle and use that, make that land unusable. If you can tuck it in one corner and use the 5,000 square feet there, and then leave that piece of land with what might left be open for future, that would be great.
And we did have, I think, with the initial architect, something like 8 different schemes, what they refer to as schemes, that not in a negative way, available for layouts of a senior center, one of which was, I think, 5,300 square feet with an option for a 3,500 square foot expansion.
Right.
So there were some nice opportunities with that space.
Okay. All right, anyone else have anything else they want to say?
Yeah, well done. Just want to remind the board that the Affordable Housing Committee does not have the authority to transfer their interest. So I'll make a motion when, if you'll permit me, and the motion has to be done in 2 parts. One of them is that we accept the Affordable Housing Committee's release of the interest of the property, and then concurrently, this Board of Selectmen transfers that interest to the Groveland Council on Aging. So that's basically my motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor?
Thank you. Thank you, on behalf of all of us.
Yep. And we plan on seeing you guys regularly with smiles.
We say that with love in our heart.
Find some federal money.
That's right. Bring me the cash.
Yeah.
Can do, will do.
All right, thanks for coming in. Okay, so, moving on, it's a little bit early. Michael whoop,
Don't worry about early, keep going.
Michael Ingram from the Veterans Service.
We're gonna be early tonight, Bill.
We were late, but now we're early.
Thank you. We all get one of these. Thank you. You should have a copy.
So, Michael, so the reason we had you come in is I can say the chairman of the board, I've never met you, nor do I know what your job title is, and I don't think I've seen you around town hall much here. I have had a few people come to me throughout the town and say, who's this person? Who's the secretary, et cetera, et cetera. Do we have any time, time set aside in town hall with this gentleman, lady, or whatever, supposed to be serving time here in Groveland? I said, I don't know, but I've heard that you need to go to Haverhill, and what have you. So my question to you is, starting out, is, are you supposed to be doing any time in Groveland? Are you guys supposed to be having office hours here at all? And to justify your pay that Groveland makes up for your pay?
Okay. I won't go through all this, but you can take a look at this after.
Okay.
This is basically explains what I'm responsible for
Okay?
and pretty much what we do. And some explanation in here about what we do in the community. Basically well, I've been the Veteran Services Director for the City of Haverhill for 21 years. And in that time, pretty much everybody that went from Groveland was coming over to see me. You were tied in with Ipswich at that time. So pretty much I was doing all the claims, I was doing all the VA claims, those kind of things. Other than the financial side of the house, they would go to Ipswich if they were getting financial benefits from us. So at that time, I was approached by the council to basically take over Groveland from Ipswich, because, again, it was a lot easier for them to come in there. They were coming there anyways. So what we did was we had set up hours to come here during the month. We'd come at night, and pretty much there wasn't anybody coming at night. They were still coming during the day to Haverhill. So, so working with the Council on Aging with Lynn, if they did need to see me at night, we'd set up an appointment and I would come over, all right? And then during the summer months, I was coming over anyways. So we're pretty much open to anybody that needs to get a hold of me, either way. They would go to the Council on Aging. If I needed to see them during the daytime over here, I would come over here to see them. We do have a couple of clients that are in your housing. So let's, I don't know if that's the answer in that or not, but we have been available. As far as my secretary goes, there's a lot of paperwork that goes with the job. Everything, how it basically works is, we do financial assistance through the state. It's a mandated program. You have to have a veterans agent in every town. And so let's say we get somebody that's unemployed. They come in, we do an application for them, we see if they're eligible. I take all their information from the DD 214, which is the discharge paperwork, their bank statements, marriage certificates, everything that we need. And we have to process that through a VISMIS program, which is a state program. Some of the council on aging use that program. We have to get them into that program, then it all has to go into Boston for approval. From there, we send for the funds through the city and the town, and those are appropriated to the veteran or the veteran's family. All that has to be accounted for with Boston, with the town. From there, there's a reimbursement process. 75% of that is sent back to the town. In January and June, we have to recertify everyone, which means getting all that paperwork back in, going through all their bank statements and everything, putting that all back into the system. So there's a lot of work to it.
Okay.
There's a lot of, which is why we have.
Yep, I clearly hear what you're saying. Does anyone have anything they want to say? I don't take up the floor here. Dan, anyone?
I'm reading through this, it's pretty self-explanatory, well done.
Yeah, I tried to write down as much as I
Yeah,
could
it's
for you. In the back side, you'll see some of this paperwork in the back is how we do the process. I blanked out the people's names on there, but these are from the town of Groveland. You can see on here, this one that says Annette. She has a higher income for Social Security, so all she gets is a medical budget. What we do is we pay any of her medical expenses, like medical insurance, Medicare A and B, prescriptions, anything that's medically related, we pay for that with her. Let's say, some of the other ones, there might be what we call ordinary benefits. In other words, they'd be getting a payment for us, the difference between whatever their income is and what our budget comes to. So that's the form that we use into the VISMIS system and how we appropriate the monies. The second page, it says the VS 5 and 6. That's the amount that you're paying for the town. This was in November, and this is how much we paid out to veterans and their families for the month. And again, you get 75% of that back.
So right now, from what you kind of started saying is, Lynn, if someone comes into Lynn, she knows to send them to you? Is
Oh,
that-
absolutely,
That's
yeah.
what's been happening?
Yeah.
Do you see that you need to have any town hours here for what you're doing? I mean, the way I looked at it and the way I've heard it is, some veterans can't get over to Haverhill, and it's easier for them to come in here to Groveland.
Then, again, see Len, and I'll come over here and see him. Yeah, that's never been a problem. But as far as having an actual hours here during the day, I would do that at night, you know.
But you said a
again,
few
at
minutes
night,
ago-
they weren't coming in.
So a few minutes ago, what you had said to me was that a lot of people didn't come at night, they came during the day.
They
So
would-
my point,
They would come over to Haverhill during the day.
right,
But if they can't get to you during the day in Haverhill,
Then
would you make time during the day?
I would make time, oh, absolutely, I'd make time to come over and see them. I do that now, I come over to see them at the housing next door.
okay, Ed wants to say something.
This email that the finance director sent to you, it was, and from her, I'm wondering if an agreement exists between the town of Groveland and the city of Haverhill for services of you and Betty. And or were you both hired through the town as an employee? And your response was, we were hired through the town of Groveland separately from Haverhill. I don't believe we have anything in writing, but you look into it. Did you find anything in writing?
Only what, basically, no, it was all verbal, you know.
And just looking at these salaries, who set this $92.94 an hour salary?
That was set to give somebody hours to work with them.
What's that again?
It was just set, the town set that, I didn't set it.
The town set,
Right.
and who set the,
What they did is they figured out how much it would be pretty much a month and just broke that down to so many hours and came up with a figure
I mean,
for that.
who set the salary for the secretary at $46.11? That seems excessive, too.
Well, it is, but if you're looking at, we're not working for 10 hours and getting 10 times that amount. I mean, that was just an amount that was set so that we'd get a certain amount during the month. I think she gets less, she gets 100 and something a month, I get 200 and something a month.
it's
So they
pretty-
did it by the hour,
They did it by the hour, just,
but it's not really
it
by
in.
the hour.
oh, yeah, I know, that would,
It's like,
the hour to
it's like
fit it in.
salary.
right, that would be ridiculous if I was getting paid that much an hour, yes.
Right.
It's just, they set that to give me a reasonable amount to do the job during the month. I mean, put it this way,
But what does it cost on an annual basis, and what do you put into it? I mean,
yeah,
it's not 92 an hour is what you're saying?
no.
Well, if,
What is it?
well, here, on this particular week, 5 hours, 5 hours at 92.94 an hour for a total of 464. But if, the other thing is, if the people from Groveland are going over to Haverhill, shouldn't the town of Groveland be reimbursing Haverhill for your time, because you're not spending,
It won't work that way,
well, you're working for the city of Haverhill,
right.
but yet, within the city of Haverhill's time, you're doing Groveland's work.
At some points.
So we should really be
But it-
reimbursing the city for
But
your
you won't
time,
have me
rather
working
than,
for you
rather
if
than
you're
you.
doing that, I'll
What's
tell
that?
you that. I said you won't have me working for you if you're doing that, because it's just not gonna work. I mean,
It's not an overlap, or is it? How does it work?
there's some overlap, but it's also because I'm doing, I mean, you also gotta look at the other side of the house. I'm doing a lot of VA cases for the town. When they come in, if someone's injured in the service, or working with the VA, I do all that as well, you know, so, it isn't all just Chapter 115. There's VA cases, and when you break that down, there's so much coming into the town of Groveland every month for doing, when they get a claim through the VA, they're getting compensated every month for that. And that's what's coming in to help them pay their taxes and do things like that. So it kind of offsets some of the costs of what we're doing on the Chapter 115 as well. But I know what you're saying. Am I doing some of the Groveland's work during the, yes.
Why couldn't you keep timesheets and just track it all? You
Then-
know, and then you just code it, this is what I was doing, a VA job, I was doing this job, and you just
It's-
code it and
it's
keep
not-
timesheets on it and submit them, and
Then I would say the town of Groveland would
so then the
have to
town's,
hire a veterans agent.
but we would pay it on actual, so I know you're saying it's a trade-off between the two, but how close is it? We have no way of gauging it, how do we account for,
How do you account
If
for
you
the
put in-
hours
if
that
you-
I put
if you-
into with, veterans, with the ceremonies, working with the VA, working with the town, the Legion, and things like that? I mean, there's a lot more to it, but,
I think, I think part of the problem is right now, we've never, I'll speak for myself again, I've never seen you here, I don't know what you were doing, in a few weeks ago, I was signing payroll, and how it came up, I'm like, who's this? I don't even know who this person is, and I started asking questions, and
because I deal with the veterans, not really as much with the town.
I understand, but
so-
on the same token, you need to be responsible to someone, if we're paying money out,
comes out of our
it
budget.
comes out of our budget, you need to be responsible to someone. And a few weeks ago, we had the same conversation with our cable guy, and he works for 2 towns, and we had the same kind of conversation. So it's just not like you can grab a paycheck and go off and say, well, I'm getting Groveland's money, but not show up, we're gonna go to Haverhill, skip Groveland, go to Ipswich. And I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying, we need some accountability.
The accountability
I
is
understand,
what
you
you
wrote it down on a
write in
piece of
your
paper,
hand.
I understand that, but I'm
No, it's
talking.
not on a piece of paper. That is what you're paying every month to your veterans. That's what I do.
Right.
When
and
they come in-
I'm not
Yeah.
doubting that one bit. I'm saying that what I'm looking for is I'm looking for some more visibility around town if people need you here. I mean, maybe I don't know enough of this, you know what I mean? Maybe I'm only getting bits and pieces of it. But I would think if
Well,
Groveland's.
one thing, too, I understand what you're saying, but I also want to talk about, I was shut down with the past administration. All right, I was told, when I brought veterans in to put them on this program, I had the past town, I don't know, he was the financial manager?
I don't know. I wasn't here.
But anyways, he investigated the veterans that I had in and basically sent the building inspector over to check where they were living. Pretty much harassment as far as where they were living. Was it an apartment? Was it legal? Whatever.
What would
You know,
be,
and they had to bring up and show that they had permits to have a mother-in-law apartment put on. I have one family that's on right now. They investigated this whole situation.
but there should be some sort of verification process so that
This was not
you
verification.
can't have, you know, somebody saying they're a veteran and it's not, I mean.
Oh, I do all that. I mean, I verify that they were veterans,
And you could submit to us if.
and I
there's any-
submit through. I mean, he had a legal apartment with his parents.
But that's your job, and I agree. You doing that with verification, it's not the finance director in this town's job. That's your job.
Right.
I agree, 100%. I'm not gonna sit here and argue that point with you. The point that is, and I'm gonna go back to what I said again, is I want accountability. For the money that I'm responsible as a chairman of the board that's being sent out, I want accountability. I wanna, you're either gonna say, Bill, they're going to Haverhill and see me in Haverhill, or I'm gonna turn around and not do this job anymore. Well, we may have a problem then, because I think that the people in this town should be able to come in here. If you say I'm here on the 5th of the month, if you're here, no one shows up after 2 hours, you leave. But I want accountability. That's
Well,
just
that's
me.
what
I can't speak for my board.
That's what I was doing.
Well, maybe it got changed, but I'm saying that's where I'm heading with this right now. I don't know if my board wants to do it, but I just want a bang for my buck. That's all I'm asking.
How many people from Groveland go over to Haverhill monthly,
Monthly?
roughly?
It's off and on as far as, I mean, we only have less than 10 people on the rolls that we deal with right now. That's the financial side. As far as claims, I might get 3 or 4 a month that come over to do VA claims.
And the complaint that I've heard is a lot of people come in here to try and get on this service, and they're being told to go to Haverhill. They can't get to Haverhill for whatever reason. They can't get on the system, they give up. So that's my point I'm trying to make. If you're here, maybe you'll see more people. Maybe more people will come out.
I've never had anybody approach me to say they couldn't reach me.
Well, instead of at night, if that didn't work, did you ever think of hours during the day?
Now, with that,
I mean, your schedule here, according to the Council on Aging newsletter, looks like maybe the third Thursday of the month from 6 to 7 at night. And it's in the newsletter. Maybe, you know, if you're not here and people show up, if it's not working at night, I would think that you would have changed the hours to an hour or two during the day.
Do you keep normal hours in Haverhill, like 8
yeah,
to 5?
I mean, I'm there 8 to 4 every day.
Is there an opportunity for you to come over here for 2
If
hours?
they
on
call
like
and I
a-
want to
the-
come over, I can do it, yeah.
Right, but I mean, could you schedule 2 hours on the first Thursday of the month?
I think I'd probably have a problem with the city of Haverhill, but
But you're representing the veterans of Groveland, too,
but
right?
it's called a district, it's.
The district, yeah, that's what I
Right,
told Bill.
what it's
You're managing a
allowed, yeah.
district.
Right.
Right. I mean, I'm just across the bridge. They call, I come over here. I mean,
You schedule
as
an
far as to
appointment.
say, yeah, I'll just schedule an appointment,
By
which is,
appointment is what you're saying?
and I can make it more visible here for them to approach me, and I can come over. But to say I'm gonna take 2 hours every
All right, so
Tuesday
you
to come
schedule an
over, it's
appointment,
gonna
so
be.
how often would that happen? Would someone call you maybe once a month? Would you have to come back over here to meet, or was it less?
I would do it anytime they wanted.
No,
to
I
do
mean,
it,
how
yeah.
frequency what's the frequency you have of that now? Where someone calls and say, hey, I need to talk to you
They
about.
just come over there, yeah.
My
But
point,
you're saying that people are
My
saying they
point
can't
is-
get over there.
my point is people don't even know
Where to begin?
where to begin here. There's no beginning, and there's no beginning because there's no actual person to contact.
Well, we should give we should list his contact information as, to start here.
Right. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I would just say, there's not even any contact information on our website for veteran services.
Well,
So
now there
I
would-
would
now there should
start
be.
with that.
Right, we could just list your name as the
That's fine.
contact, and there you go, that solves the problem. All right,
I mean, I would love to do more outreach. Like I said, I was shut down on doing I was absolutely told not to get more clients.
not to get more clients.
Right. And when I got people, I was pretty much, I had one guy that was, he was living with a family and in a room, and they went over and said this wasn't a legal residence or something, and he was evicted, basically, from the city, and ended up in a hotel, and we had to pay for him to be in the hotel. When I was asked why he's in the hotel, I said, well, you evicted him. You know, that is not what this program is for.
This
It's
is a
not to be
veteran?
going to search to somebody and say, we're trying to find out why you're here because we're spending money on you.
And that's
And
not
then-
my point at all.
Right, but that was one of the reasons your outreach shut down quite a bit, is because I saw who I would see that would come over, because it really wasn't that atmosphere to do the job as it should be done.
Right.
Which means, I mean, with more outreach, you know, we're gonna get more clients, which is what this is for. I am not here to not service people.
And I'm not saying that
Yeah.
at all, I'm not.
No, I
And
don't think
just
you are.
want
I'm just trying to explain what
I
happened before.
understand, and I want, all I'm saying, I just want you more, and if we can't have it, we can't have it, we're gonna come up with a different program, but I think Dan wants to talk.
Yeah, I just, we owe the veterans. Bottom line, just, you know, our job is, we approve warrants, we basically sign checks. We approve their signing. So we're accountable to the people, where's the money going? So absolutely, veterans deserve the benefits if they're available, and yeah, it does cost the town money, but, you know, veterans have freedom, so we're not gonna shut you out in any way, but that's not to say that we're not gonna ask some number questions, and
I'm more than happy to do that.
I'm a CPA, I like to ask number questions, and,
Yeah.
you know, you got an invoice here, and the ordinary benefits are $1,920.20, and then you got miscellaneous $1,560. I don't know what miscellaneous is.
Oh, I can actually break that down for you, just
To
so
me,
you get it.
miscellaneous should be less than 5% or 2%, it ought to be, you know, something.
Miscellaneous is just a term on, when we do the business, when we put this stuff
It's
in,
unclassified where
Yeah.
I come from.
right. Like you say, medications, this one says 491. That's a total between all of them that are on this is for all those that are receiving the veterans' benefits.
That's prescription drugs,
Right,
obviously.
Right, so if we got 5 people, that's 5 people's prescription drugs, medications,
Yeah.
the medical insurance and that. The hospital, sometimes, you know, if they have hospital expense, we pay that, dental. The miscellaneous could be from, if they have the alert buttons, things like that.
Can you break that out into some categories? Because it's almost as much as the ordinary benefits. It's nondescript.
Right. Yeah, I could do that.
And that's
Give you a better
almost,
idea of what it is.
it's almost 40% of the total $4,200, and it doesn't, you know, I've seen it go through other line items, you know, in other areas of our budget, miscellaneous reimbursements. It doesn't tell me anything.
Oh, what they are, okay.
Doesn't tell you
Well,
what it is.
Like I say, miscellaneous is a column in the Department of Veteran Services budget. When we put things in, everything falls under a certain category in a budget, so we don't break it
It's the
down.
process of elimination. You couldn't fit it into any of the other, thing else,
Right.
so is it reimbursable?
Right. What I could do is get you,
That's the question. If it's in miscellaneous, is it
Yeah.
reimbursable, or is it a legitimate benefit? I mean, I don't know.
yeah, it's a
if you-
legitimate reimbursed benefit. Everything that we do here, if it's on here, it's gone through the Department of Veteran Services in Boston. Right, so, I mean, everything has to be accounted down to the penny for your budget and the Boston budget.
So on the VA guidelines, if they call
Not
it
VA,
miscellaneous.
Veteran Services.
Veteran
Veteran
Services?
Services is the state of Mass, it's not the VA.
Okay.
So everything is accounted for through them. I can't do anything without approval from them.
Is there any way to get breakouts of that? That's all I'm asking you.
I can give you a breakout what would come under miscellaneous.
Yes, yes.
Probably not as much individually. I mean, I could try that, so you can see it better.
Typically, what would be in there, because is it food, is it?
No, no,
Shelter, is it-
it's paying back a reimbursable expense, like I say, for
First alert?
First Alert, that's what I was trying to say,
And
things like that.
And that
It's a-
doesn't fall under doctor's
No.
medication or hospital,
Right, it's something totally separate.
it's related,
But I can get you that,
okay.
so you'll understand it better.
I'd like to,
Yeah.
All right, Ed wants to say
Yeah,
something.
I'd like to see it easier for the veterans of Groveland to participate in the program by having regular hours here, whether it be once a month, in addition to, do you go to the veterans meetings here in Groveland?
Yes,
You do?
when I'm invited, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, do you mean like the Council on Aging, or
No,
like the Legion?
No,
When
like the
has it?
Legion, I don't think the VFW meets anymore, but.
No, it's just, all you have is a Legion. And-
So they
and I work
have
with
your
them.
information then, the Legion.
Maybe that'd be a solution, have a question and answer customer service session once a month or something. Couple hours, and if nobody shows up.
Well, it could be done
go
at the
home.
Legion. If they're meeting anyways, you could Q&A there.
Yeah, I work with them, and
What
actually,
One of my suggestions was gonna be, if you can talk with the finance director and pass over maybe once a month, kind of a breakdown of what's going on with the Groveland people. you know,
absolutely.
Okay, and give her a monthly, review, money-wise.
You know what? I would love to have the friendly atmosphere and sit down.
Okay,
I really
I'm sure
would,
she'll
because-
do that.
We got new people
I-
here, you know.
And the thing is
That's-
whatever has been
I
said
don't
in
know
the,
if you noticed that.
whatever has been said in the past, we're a new board, it went 3 members, 5 member now, whatever's been done's been done.
Well, just for the fact that she has contacted me is something new. So
Right, okay.
I'm very thankful for
So,
that.
so better communication back and forth with the finance director on what's going on. I would like to somehow come up with a better, and I don't mean the parents, I mean, like Ed just talked about, somehow we can get more communication between the veterans and you. Because, I mean, you watch TV right now, you probably know it better than I do. The poor veterans can't even get medicine. I mean, they're in Boston laying on the side of the roads. I mean, and this is what we need to do. We need to be there for our veterans. That's what your job is. And I'm not saying you're not doing it. I'm just saying, let's somehow see if we can step up a little bit more.
If we publicized it more, you're gonna get more
Publicize
people.
it more.
Well,
When I
Yeah, we
started
will.
the
We'll
job,
get more involvement.
when I started the job in Haverhill, my budget was 21,000 a year for this OB, which you're seeing here. And right now, I'm at $1.25 million and going up. And a lot of that is outreach. I'm not saying you're gonna go to $1 million, I don't mean to scare you, say you're
No,
gonna
no,
go to a
no.
budget like that. But, there are people that could be served that aren't being served.
Right.
And I even see it in Haverhill where we have a pretty good presence, has been there for a long time, and they still don't know about the program. It's
Right.
word of mouth more than anything,
Right.
and I would be more than happy to do more work.
That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And we just had our council on aging in here, they're trying to find a place for our elderly, and we've been trying to work with them. They just came in and we just, gave them the go-ahead to look at a piece of land. So all I'm saying is, we're here to work with you. I want you to understand we're here to work with you. Denise is here 8 hours a day. We're not here 8 hours a day. Call her,
She'll get to know me.
talk to her, make a meeting, whatever you need.
And we have included more now. I mean, the town of Groveland is, the veterans are participating in our parades now. That started in the last 2 years. They're actually speaking. They're on our Veterans Council. So we've been working hard to get
Right.
Groveland involved in,
Yeah.
it's one group. I mean, we're all one town, basically.
Right, right.
I mean,
And what I would like to do is somehow come up with a program to make it more easily for them to come in here. If you're not here, make it more easily, they can come in. I know they're probably seeing Lynn that you said or whatever, but somehow make it more easily for them to get accessible to you. And that's all I ask. Anyone else have anything else?
Well, yeah, so let's recap what's actionable. Actionable, number one, a monthly meeting, could be even a telephone conference with Denise, and transferring information to Denise specific to services paid for and applied for our local veterans here in Groveland.
But also budget too,
Right,
budget-wise.
Budget-wise. Second thing, we posted on your contact information on our website. And thirdly, I'm gonna make a recommendation that your contact information is also embedded in the letter.
Yeah.
Okay?
Is this contact information on the bulletin board outside too?
Because I don't see it here, so.
It's on another, no,
Okay.
right there in the, maybe I think it's in the newsletter somewhere.
Okay, so as long as it's in there. And then the fourth item, at some point, if it's possible, like Ed said, maybe 1 hour a month here, just posted, if it's possible. But I understand that could be problematic with Haverhill, but if it's possible, let's explore it. But the first three are actionable.
Maybe on a Monday night when we have extended hours, I mean, just
Yeah, maybe.
find a spot for them, I mean, that's easy,
Right.
right? We stay open late, so maybe after your Haverhill
Yeah, you could
hours,
do
you just
a-
have Monday night, once a month.
I definitely think that's something we should do. I think that we definitely
4:30 to
should have,
5:30 or something, yeah.
even if he comes here and no one shows up after an hour or so, and have a, like Mike just said, out front, have it posted on the board out front, and have a veteran's little pocket out there, and phone number, you know, and then they can say that they're gonna come in. And then you can check it, and if you know they're gonna be coming in, you know you gotta be here, you know, something like that.
So those are four actions.
Sign-up sheet or something.
And like Denise said, the website.
4 items, right there.
There you go.
How about a,
Simple solution.
shouldn't the Board of Selectmen be setting the rate, the pay?
That's where I was gonna go next with it, is who's accountable for all the rate of pays and all, who does the rate of pay now in the town of Groveland? Some is done by, the Board of Selectmen, and some are done by the finance director.
No, I don't set salaries. It's the board. I don't know where this one came from.
Well, department
think, like
heads, I
you
should
said-
say.
No, the board sets everyone's salaries. So last year it came up, I think it was part of the percent, whether or not you give a cost of living, and I believe you agreed to it, so a cost of living was given to that. I think if they extrapolated a rate from a certain dollar amount monthly, then that's what's happened, but maybe it needs to go back to just a monthly stipend and not based on hours, because $94 an hour seems a bit ridiculous to
Yeah, we gotta
actually have
leave-
posted.
We should label it what it is. If his average number of hours is 10 hours a week,
Right.
we should come up with a number that's
Right.
realistic.
Yep.
Because otherwise, we run the risk that at some point in time, he can put in 100 hours and multiply it times 90 plus, and we have to pay the bill contractually.
Yeah,
Why
we've
wouldn't
not,
we?
never done it that way by the hour. They just,
Right.
I mean, we just worked out how much it would be a month
I-
to do the service, and then they just
I-
put a few hours
I
to it to
understand,
make
but
it
I don't
work
like
out.
the label, though. I believe in you say what you mean.
I think it's so that way, I mean, like you said, given an increase or anything, they had to have hours in order to do that,
Right.
I think.
What's
That's
the
maybe how
monthly
they did it.
stipend? Is that what it is?
Right, I would say it should be based on more of a stipend than,
Well,
because
then
I
we
guess-
should call it what it is.
Right. My question, Mike,
It's
is
not $94 an hour.
why is it every few months there's an hour additional? So some months, like for you, it's 4, and then it goes to 5, and for Betty, it's 5 and goes to 6. Every few months is 1 hour additional. Is that,
That, I really couldn't say.
So
I
why
don't think
don't,
it changed any difference in the amount of the month, did it?
no, it does.
It
Every
does?
few months you get paid more by 1
So-
hour's worth of time.
so can we, in that conversation with him, can you guys work that out, or we need us to work it out?
Well, we can discuss what he's getting, and the board will still have to
And
decide.
what Dan
on
just
salary.
talked about, as far as making more of a even not touching their money, but making it more
I would,
of a
prefer it being a
stipend, but
stipend than an
not,
hourly
not a $97 an hour
Well, if
type
you-
thing.
if you
And the
put-
same with the,
you
same
put-
with the secretary.
correct.
Right.
How many hours do you put in for the 94 hours, $4?
I'd say, we don't keep track of hours.
Oh, but is
It's
it
just-
5 hours? If it's 5, yeah, okay, we call it, almost $20 an hour. I
But
mean,
we
it's
pay him
math.
for, right, we're paying him for 4 hours most months, and then 5 hours on every 3 or 4 months, we pay him for 5 hours.
So 94 divided by 4.5. Got a calculator.
It looks like.
$22
unless I'm reading
an
it
hour.
wrong, It looks like, it looks like it's bi-weekly, so it would be more like 9 or 10 hours a month for him, and 6 hours, because looks like the secretary gets paid monthly, he gets paid bi-weekly.
No, they're both paid once a month. If you look at his pay, it's July, August, September, October. The checks are dated once a month. They're paid for the same pay period each month.
So I mean, I think we could leave it with Denise and him to discuss, I mean, and they can work that out. It's not like what,
I think they can crunch the numbers and come back and just put it before us, and whatever it averages out to, I mean, we can look at it, but if it's not $94 an hour in real economic terms, then we shouldn't call it that. I mean,
I think part of it too is
we shouldn't do that.
what they were doing with Ipswich. I mean, when you're part of the district with Ipswich, there was so much that was being paid to Ipswich,
We just gotta,
and they kind of figured it from there. But also, the veterans had to drive to Ipswich.
right.
They weren't up here, they weren't right across the bridge.
we gotta get the math right. Simple as that.
It's
It-
not
it
gonna
prob-
change, I don't think it's gonna change the number you
Comes
guys are
out to the
paid.
same money, but
It's
it's,
just not gonna be looking like an hourly rate, it's gonna look like a stipend type rate. So, I think we should leave it with you and Denise to discuss it and work that out.
Yeah, because I would never charge hours to I mean, I realize how high
Right.
that is,
Right.
and there's no way I would ever
No,
do
no.
that, so.
No, we're just gonna clean that up, and
But
then,
anyone who looks at that says, wow, that's a
I
nice
know, it looks
gig.
ridiculous.
Pretty good gig, right?
so what we'll do is.
I wish.
We talked, like Joe just said, we talked about 4 different things we can do to better the public eye on you being here and knowing who you are, and we're gonna tighten that up a little bit and let everyone know that we want them to come to the Veterans Guy. We want you to work with them. We want you to help them. You know what I'm saying? And that's all, you know? And I think that now that you're before us, you feel comfortable with us. Hopefully, we're gonna have a good relationship. We're gonna know who you are, and we're gonna all move forward, you know?
Can we get his contact information out there while you're on camera? Is that all right?
Yeah,
How do they reach you, sir?
well, they can call me, my office number is 978-374-2351. Extension 10 would get my secretary. Or if they want to call here to set up an appointment, they would go through the Groveland number for the Council on Aging, which I don't know off the top of my head. And I also have, that was one thing I wanted to ask. I have an email through the city of Haverhill. Can I get an email through Groveland?
Yep.
And I think that would help. Then they could contact me through that. I know with Haverhill, it's just mingham@cityofhaverhill.com. I don't know what it would be here for Groveland.
GrovelandMA.com.
Again,
So-
First up,
so
first
again, so
last,
it'd be
at
mingham,
grovelandma.com.
grovelandma.com. So, if, once we set that up, we could use that.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
and Denise, on that kind of stuff, maybe Cassandra can work back and forth on that end of it? As far as, not the money in it, as far as the website.
Yeah, well, Cassandra can update the website.
And,
I'll set
and
up
as
the
far
email
as his
tomorrow.
communications with him, and maybe talk with,
Put a link on the website. I mean, isn't that what you do?
Yeah, well, there's not even a department listed, so we'll set up a department,
Right,
put his
right.
contact
And
information,
then work with-
any documents. I mean, I've been to the Haverhill website, you have plenty of stuff posted.
Right.
Which is
and then
how I
work
realized
with
we-
Lynn, as far as Lynn, when someone comes in, that she'll know the information, we'll have the board out front, updated out front with Veteran Service Board. Do you need services, whatever, come see us, you know, make them so they know to come to you or Lynn, right?
And so it comes out to be approximately $4,900 a year for Mike. So I don't know what it started at, maybe it started at something, but then cost of living has been applied over the years. It's $49,2582, so it's not even a round number. So, something to think about.
So as we go forward, we're the one that set that rate.
Correct.
So we would be setting the rate and the rate of pay and all that, and we'll look at it as another department here in town. So every time a fiscal year rolls around, we'll be talking about that as well.
Yep, it's in the budget, so it's
Okay.
something you would vote on and discuss.
Okay. All right, so now we got some clarification. I think I feel good about it. I don't know if any,
Yes, absolutely. I feel comfortable.
And I've had a really good relationship with Lynn.
okay,
You know, she's helped set up a lot of the nights when we came in and
Yep.
working with individuals. And she calls me all the time, you know, see this person, see that
Yep.
person. So,
Okay.
you know, I do have a good relationship with Lynn.
all right, awesome. Joe, do you have anything?
No, very good, well done.
Dan, you all set?
All
right.
set, thank you.
Well, thank you for coming in, and
Coming in.
looking
Thank you.
forward to seeing
Actually,
you
I'm
more around.
glad to meet everybody and get involved, so.
Thanks so
Thank
much.
you, appreciate it.
Okay, so we're moving on to 7:30. We have the 97 Liquors to discuss a request for a new manager on their license. You have to go up to the board, up to the podium and talk. You just gotta say who you are and your address.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Devyani Patel. I'm currently a manager and owner of Route 97 Liquor.
Okay? So are you here
I'm
cha-
here,
change
yeah,
managers?
changing manager. Nilesh is
Okay,
is
go
the
ahead.
new manager.
Okay.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm the Nilesh Kumar Patel. I'm appointed the new Route 97 liquor manager.
Okay. I know we can't discuss what's happened in the past, but I can say that there's been problems, and that on behalf of me and the board, I'll speak, you know, as me, but part of the board, it just can't continue. And it can't continue to the point where, you know, you may end up getting in more trouble, or someone might get hurt, and that's why I would like to see a new manager and make sure that we have management in there to stop this problem, whatever it is. And that's just on my behalf. I don't know if anyone else has anything they want to say.
Yeah, just reading the paperwork, it seems like the new manager is the one that had the problem before. That he was in the store when they had the problem before.
I don't know, I wasn't involved.
So I was just reading the paperwork here. And it looked like he was the one that was, working the night of the problems, for the last one.
Yep, go ahead.
It was one of our employee who were there at the time of the services when
I'm
the
sorry, what was it?
citations occurred.
Yeah,
He was not there present, he was being called. So what my concern is, I live in city of Boston. For me to commute as a manager, that's why it's been running as an absentee manager. I only comes over here on the weekends, 2 days a week, because I have other commitments as well. So
Right.
he, take over the store in the morning. He works over there 20 hours a week in the morning for 4 hours, 5 days a week. So, since he's a local guy, he's a resident of the Groveland, so it would be benefit to the community as well as the store to have him as a new manager versus me.
Right, right. And I agree what you're saying, but when he's not there, and there's somebody else in the store, what I'm saying is just make sure that person that's in that position that runs the store is running it and doing what they need to do.
Absolutely, and that's why I'm appointing him full-time employee over there, so therefore he can, hire the local guy. Most probably he'll be spending the pretty much all day over there
Right.
as an, running manager.
Most of these violations in the day and night.
well, just mention this last one was, I don't know how much we
During
can
the
mention
day,
about it.
It's during the day.
It looks like
Okay.
he was there.
Okay, so, I think what Ed's trying to say is that the violations were there when you were there, and he's not confident with what took place.
And what I'm suggesting is there's a service system calls, the check ID systems, which is I'm in the market to looking for one, so it would be when whoever comes to purchase the liquor or beer or anything like that, we have to scan the ID. If the ID scanner will say, okay, then we will sell it. So,
Right.
so that's in the process as well.
Right, and do you know how long that would take to put that in process?
Probably a month or so at the most. Yes.
So, we can't comment on all details, but what happened before,
Yes, sir.
you're gonna put in systems and make changes,
Absolutely.
so that it won't happen again.
Exactly.
If you come back here, then,
Right, absolutely, yeah.
you don't wanna come back here.
No, not at all.
So, I don't know if we have the right to do this, but I would say if we can go with the manager they have, can we give them a timeline to have the systems in place? We can't do that, we're not,
No, because you're not here to hear about the violation.
Right,
You're here just
but
to
I'm here-
discuss the manager.
just for a manager.
So you
But-
could certainly take it under advisement, they have to renew their liquor license at the end of the year. So in December, you would hear for their new license. At that point, you could choose to discuss it further if there's continued violations.
But we can accept the new manager or deny the application of the new manager, and where Ed said it's the same manager as when the, violation happened, right?
Yes, correct.
So we could accept that conditionally with implementation of some sort of changes, some strings attached, can we not?
You could, yes.
I think that's what we need to do, otherwise
Let me,
it's the status quo.
I understand,
You
I
with me?
understand, I agree with you 100%.
What's changed?
Okay, watch this. Can I ask you a question? Sure. I personally know Neil, because I go into Nicole's quite a bit,
Right,
and I know Neil is usually in Nicole's in the morning.
right.
I'm gonna be satisfied if you tell me that Neil is gonna be the new manager from,
At the,
in that store, not going back and forth and not
Correct.
having someone to place. I would be comfortable if Neil is going to be in the liquor store. Because I think what Neil just said was the person that went in there was a worker.
right.
It wasn't actually him.
Exactly.
He was really a manager, but he wasn't really on site at the
Right,
time.
he's a cashier, what you call. He's
Right.
not a manager.
Right.
Currently, I'm the manager,
Right.
excuse me. I'm the manager of Route 97.
Right. So what needs to happen, until we can get to the next licensing time,
Mm-hmm.
I think Neil's gonna need to be there. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, I'm just saying personally, I think you
Right.
need to have a manager on site all the time.
Yes, and that's exactly what we are trying to work.
Okay,
And
okay.
right now, the current employee who's working at Route 97, we are looking into new applications where we can have, another person.
Yeah.
So they would know that they have previously have an experience of being into,
Yep.
you know, shop like that.
Yep.
So
Is
we
there
are,
any,
we are taking under consideration of hiring a new person along with Neil.
Is there any, anything that you can do sooner, like you talked about this licensing machine? Is there any-
Definitely, I mean, it's not gonna hurt to try it, I'm still
Yeah,
looking,
do
so,
something
but
sooner
I
so we
will,
don't,
I will definitely try to do it as quickly as possible.
okay. All right, anyone else have anything they wanna say?
No, I appreciate making the necessary change.
Thank you, and I do appreciate it,
Okay.
your corporations as
And I do have something, in terms of a matter of a public record, we have to deduct quite a bit of information here, because this is personal information.
Yep.
We don't want to enter this into the personal record. The application, all we need is the front as the cover. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do you have any, Mike? Good. Dan, you all set?
No, it's just key is prevention,
Definitely,
bottom line.
that's right. I'm in that business, so I know what is the
Ed, do you have any
consequence.
further?
No, nothing further.
Okay,
Thank you
Well-
very much.
no problem. Okay, what's up? Wait a minute, hold on.
So you're gonna vote on the matter of manager? You need to actually vote if you
Okay.
want to approve the liquor license change of manager.
All right, so can I get a motion on, to change the manager at the Route 97 Liquors?
Go ahead, Mike, give it a shot.
Motion to approve the new manager for the liquor license at Route 97 Liquors.
A second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion? I would like to say in the discussion that if we can, I know it's not edged in stone, but in the discussion we had, that the manager will be there on site, when his duties are, he can't be floating back and forth, he'd be on site, and then gonna hire someone in the off time when he's not there, and they're gonna work to get a register that accepts the licenses sooner than later. So if they come back before, so we have these three things in place, so it's fair, it's a fair shake to these guys. And,
And you're okay with those?
So, for him being there immediately, 7 days a week, for him to be in the AM time, because, person can work only 8 hours.
I understand. So what I just said was, when Neil's not there, you guys gotta have someone in place that's educated, that knows that job, and you're gonna put something in place to check what needs to be checked,
Correct. Does
when
it
Neil's
have-
not there.
Yeah, does it have to be in effective right away? That's my concern.
Well, if you don't wanna be back here again, sooner than later,
Yeah, but
you know what I mean?
before I hire someone else, it's gonna take time for me getting the new information, that's not a problem.
Right, so what would have to happen, I'm not trying to say how to run your business, but what would have to happen is if Neil works 8 hours and the store's open 15 hours, maybe Neil has to pick up the phone and say what's going on and check in. I mean, he's gonna have to step up to the plate. I'm just trying to prevent you guys from having problems
Right,
again,
right.
that's all.
I mean, and we do have a closed caption camera where you can see what's
Right.
going on. That's how I've been operating the store.
Yeah.
And this is not the only store I have. I have about 4 different stores.
Yeah, yeah.
Different locations, so that's what I do. I,
Okay.
check electronically what's going on, and I'll be the first one to call them if anything goes wrong, before he does.
Well, it happened,
But,
and it's happened more
yes,
than once,
right,
so we gotta put something in place.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that was my friendly amendment. If you guys accept it, we'll take a
Who
vote.
made the motion? Mike
I
made the motion,
motion.
he
Made the
he has
motion,
to
Ed
accept it.
seconded.
Oh, I have to accept it.
You have to accept it.
Yeah, I'll accept that.
All right,
Okay.
now we have to well, we have to
Revote?
vote. No. Ed, will you accept that? Ed seconded that. Ed, do you accept it as amended?
Sure.
Okay, so Ed accepted it, so we're gonna take a vote. All in favor?
And it's unanimous.
All right, thank you.
Thank you
Hope
very
to see
much.
you
Thank
guys
you for
not back
coming
here
in.
again. All right, no problem. Okay, all right, yep,
Hope they don't have to come back.
I know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Coming to this committee is a
No problem.
fate worse than death.
Sometimes.
Okay, so,
So I can
It's
check
still
and see
early.
if the fire department is here. We're a little early, so I don't know if you wanna take some votes maybe while we wait, or?
Sure.
Yeah, why don't we do that?
Let's get through some stuff.
I've got to sign it.
okay, so we're going through the minutes from the January 25th, 2016 meeting. Can I get a motion to accept?
I'll make a motion, we accept the minutes of the January 25th meeting.
Seconded?
Seconded.
All in favor? Executive session minutes from February 1st, 2016. Can I get a motion to
I'm
accept?
sorry, I missed, can you just tell me who made the motion? I was distracted.
I think Ed made the motion.
I made the motion.
I
Ed
seconded
made
it.
the motion.
I seconded
Thank you.
it.
Okay. Ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. So the executive session minutes from February 1st, 2016. Can I get a motion to accept?
Sure, Ed'll make that motion too.
And someone second?
I'll second that one, too.
And any further discussion?
Was I there?
What's that?
Was I there?
You were not.
I abstained.
All in favor? Okay. All right, so, we'll go through correspondence. We have a letter from Copeland and Page about the One Holly Lane, situation. And we have a letter from Comcast regarding installation cost. We have a market and,
Mr. Chairman, could he make a comment on that?
sure, I guess.
Which one?
On the letter from Comcast?
Sure.
Should, just bear with me till I find it here. Shouldn't that be negotiated, not just them telling us that, what they're gonna charge?
Their installation charge, I don't believe, is part of the cable contract. You negotiate the franchise fee, you negotiate channels, or types of channels, but you don't negotiate installation costs.
Or we could add that.
But I do believe they're simplifying it. I don't know what the current cost is, they didn't say what it was. But instead of charging for each different thing, I guess they're charging a flat rate.
Okay, but that's enough, we could add that into the negotiations.
I don't believe that's
so?
negotiable, the
Okay.
installation charges. From my past experience, I don't believe it is.
Okay.
That's all I got.
To go back one step, the letter from Copeland and Page on One Holly Lane, do we need to discuss that in a further agenda item, or I haven't even had a chance to look at it, so.
No, so really what that is you've discussed in the past, the building inspector came before you to
Yep.
ask to fill in that pool.
Right.
We by right now can place a lien against the property, so this is just the formality
Procedural.
of them
It's just procedural.
notifying the owners what we did, assessing a fee, and just telling them what they owe, where it's a demand for payment.
Okay.
He filled
So-
the pool in. Took care of it.
Yes,
Yep.
yes, the matter is taken care of right away. It's just taken some time to go through the legal aspects and make sure we get the proper demand out to them.
Okay, so moving down the list, we have the market analysis on the industrial zone land parcels by Lawrence, Morocco. I would like to see, after everyone gets a chance to go through this, I'd like to see it go back on as an agenda item. I don't know if we already have that set, I know we talked about it.
I don't have it set, because the next meeting, I don't know if you wanted to try and add them on the 7th, or if you wanted to wait till you came back from vacation.
We can wait,
So
I mean, it's.
it's
been
up to
this-
you.
It's been this long, we'll do it when I get back, I guess.
So want me to schedule it for the meeting after you come back?
Yep. And then we have the minutes from the February 18th, 2016 meeting. And another thing is to go back another step again. If you guys want to have a discussion on the 7th, they have their chance to discuss all this. If they want to just talk about that industrial lane, can they talk about it? That letter?
The market analysis?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can add it to the 7th. You could talk about it and then invite him in afterwards if you
Right.
want, however you want to handle it.
I would like to get the ball rolling. It's only money we could possibly put in the bank, so I don't know, how is that agenda's not full. It's gonna
not
take some time with the
full.
school
We have
committee.
The school committee.
That's
and
gonna take
then,
some time.
That will be the meeting.
And
Dan will not
I'd
be
like to
at.
have Dan here for that meeting. I know Dan can't be here, so I'd like to have,
I went to see Dr. Malqueen this morning, and talk about a few things. He said they were gonna be on for the 7th. I said, oh, I'm gonna miss that meeting. And Bill's not gonna be here either, right?
No, Bill's here on the 7th. Bill's
I'm
not here on
not
the
the
21st.
21st, I'm.
Oh.
So maybe we
I don't know.
table this until we talk about the meeting schedule, which is something I sent you guys today to pick some dates. Maybe we can schedule it for when you come back for that.
I think we
first
should do it when I come back.
So Well, that will be the question of whether or not we want to add those in, in between meetings, so maybe the 28th if we have a
Well,
meeting
let's
that
just,
night.
we'll quickly talk about that. Do you guys, I know Dan's tough because you have tax season, but do you guys want to try and fit in another meeting, because we're starting to get bogged down with work at any point? And you don't have to answer tonight. I know Denise had sent an email out. Maybe we can have another short night that we can do a little extra work. I just think this is an important thing, that we can possibly get something on the ball rolling here and get some money, and we're in a financial predicament. If we can get the ball rolling on this and try to get some advertised land and, whatever.
Right, and I think as far as the meeting schedule goes, we're starting to get close to, there's only 4 meetings, I believe, between now and the time the budget's supposed to be approved. Dan's missing a meeting, Bill's missing a meeting, so my suggestion to Bill was maybe we have a meeting Monday, the 28th, which is an off meeting night, and then add a few meetings. Last year, we met Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for 2 weeks in a row on the budget. So I just threw it out to pick some dates to figure out when we could add, because I'm concerned there's not gonna be enough budget discussion.
You're talking about the 20th, you're talking about
I'd
next week?
rather just have longer meetings, go 6 to 11.
I'm not
If
staying
you
here
can
till
meet at
11.
6.
It's a rush, I gotta run 20 red lights. I mean, I gotta get here in a hurry,
So what do you think of the 19th?
I got here at 5:30 today.
Yes, you did.
I did.
So, think about that, I'm just concerned that there's not gonna be enough time to discuss what you need to discuss before approving the
I
warrant
mean,
and the
do what you
budget.
gotta do, I mean, Friday nights would probably be, a possibility.
Well, why don't we turn around in the next couple days? Let's get some emails back on some dates
Available
possibly,
dates,
and we'll try to.
all right. For an
I would
extra
like to
meeting.
have, in this one discussion,
Yeah,
I would like to have you there. That's your field,
yeah.
so I'd like to have you there. I mean, I don't care if I have to do a Friday, Saturday, or whatever. I know Denise
Yeah, I
can't.
don't mind logging hours, I just
I
had
don't
something
mean to make
planned
you
a
come
long
in,
time
but-
It really depends.
5 a.m. Saturday morning, let's do that. We don't have breakfast.
But yeah, if you get back to me, I'll schedule it at the first meeting, I know that you'll all be here. Right now, that would be April,
We should probably have one marathon session at least on just budget.
yes, and right now, we don't have that because this thing's scheduled. Unless we add a meeting on the 28th, which we could do just a budget meeting on the 28th.
What day of the week is that?
That's a Monday, that's the off Monday from when Bill gets back.
We should really plan
Well,
on
That's
that.
after he gets back, or you're
That's
talking
when Bill's
about
back.
next week?
I'll check on the calendar and maybe that's possible.
So we could do just the budget that night and then the following, March 28th.
Monday the 28th.
And then, because the next meeting would be April 4th, and that's when you were scheduled to vote on the budget and the warrants, but we'd probably have it, because it has to be posted on the 11th,
And we have a meeting on April 19th.
April 19th, but that's too late for the,
No, I know that.
Budget,
For the
yeah.
budget, yeah.
Yep.
March 28th, we really need to show up here. We really, really do.
so if
Make
you
it
can
budget only.
confirm, we
Budget
can just
only.
make it the budget and the warrant, because by then we should have all the warrant articles, and talk about them.
All right, so we'll get back, we get the email that went out, we'll get back to Denise tomorrow on that.
And I will add that agenda item as soon as I can make sure you're all here.
All right, and the last thing is, we have the town plan, a sample of a job description to take a look at.
So there's a couple of different ones, Bill, you had asked for some description, so there's, I think, 3 or 4 towns, I just gave you their qualifications and their, education and things like that, just so you can see what other communities are, around our size, are looking for in a town planner.
Okay. All right, so it looks like we have everybody here in front of us. And we're gonna go back to the fire department to present their recent approval by the Massachusetts Offices of Emergency Medical Service as a heart-safe community. So whoever wants to represent the fire department can go to the podium and fill us in.
I don't know if you want to read that, but I'll certainly give them to Denise. Right, at this point, I will represent the fire department because I am the fire chief, okay? Good evening. Thank you for putting us on the agenda. I did promise to Denise, knowing that it's budget season and there's a lot of stuff going on, that we would be as brief as possible. But I thought it was a good opportunity to put something in front of you folks that some of my people have been working on, okay? So I have with me tonight the executive director from OEMS, Region 3. His name is John Brickett. He's sitting right there at the end. And I'm going to have him make a presentation. Before we do that, because we may break early, I want to thank the firefighters for coming and demonstrating their support. The individual that did most of the work on this program is in the room. His name's Taylor Belletto. We're going to recognize Taylor a little bit, although he wasn't looking for that. It's a lot of good work that he did, and it's why we're here. And I think it's a very important and meaningful program for the town of Groveland. So with no further ado, I'd ask John to come up and present.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Selectmen. I'm John Brickett. I'm from Region 3 EMS, and my background in EMS is 35 years. And this designation that the community is getting, which is a community designation, is not a shortcoming. There are communities out there that have been trying to get this designation for a few years. I have to applaud. I was not shocked, but surprised on how quick this organization, the fire department, with the help of the town and the people that live here, and the businesses and public buildings that you represent, that Taylor, where did he go? He's the one hiding in the back. I met with Taylor, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, if that, and we went over what is required. He just was checking and balancing, and I got the application in my office. It is my responsibility as a director of this region to oversee that, work closely with Department of Public Health, Office of Emergency Medical Services, and it was the quickest application that I actually vetted. It was amazingly done, and I have to say that the leadership of this department, as well as the person tasked with this job, got something done very quickly. So how does this happen? It's really between DPH, our region, which is Region 3, we represent 49 cities and towns, 15 hospitals, and 37 licensed ambulance services. My job is also to oversee the communication between the transporting and non-transporting agencies to the emergency rooms within the 15 hospitals in our region. It seems like a really big task, but when you have a lot of good people involved in that, it's just a lot of housekeeping. How you get to your designation, first is the biggest conundrum that people see is public access to CPR. And CPR is much different than it was years ago. The survival rate of CPR today, based on statistics and things that have been done across this country. There was a study done 6 years ago that changed the whole scope of cardiopulmonary resuscitation and what that actually means. And we found out that through a lot of research that too much oxygen kills your brain, where it goes against everything we were taught in EMT school, that more oxygen was the better. So they found out through neurosurgeons that it wasn't. And it's that public access to CPR and public access to external automatic defibrillators and good response from fire, police, and transporting ambulance makes the survival go up. Based on the change, we've seen about a 6 to 7% increase in survival on cardiopulmonary resuscitation or cardiac arrest patients, just based on the knowledge that we gathered through this country. So I am proud. This is my first community designation as the executive director of this EMS region. So Chief, if you can come up, Taylor, I think it's fitting. That on behalf of the Department of Public Health, Office of Emergency Medical Services, my office, as well as the residents and the support from this board, this department, I present this to the Chief and Taylor. This is a really great recommendation and a designation. Congratulations, Chief. Taylor, nice job.
Thank you.
tell me there's gonna be pictures, chief.
You would address differently? Tracy, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much.
No problem, thank you for coming in. What I would like to do at this point, if I could, and I'm not trying to put Taylor on the spot, but I know you said he did a speedy recovery and got it out and got it going. Just for the people, the town people, if you don't mind coming up and just kind of do an overlay of what the program is, what the program will do for Groveland, and just do a quick overlay of it.
Yeah, sure. So like the chief said, my name's Taylor Boletto. I'm a firefighter with the fire department. Been here coming up on 2 years now. EMT for about the same amount of time. And I guess basically what prompted it was, we've been trying to improve EMS in the fire department. It's kind of what we do the most. And we went to the Georgetown Fire Department for a lot of help because they have a really good program over there. And one of the things we came across was their EMS director had done the Heart Safe program because his father had suffered a sudden cardiac arrest. And it actually prompted him to do more for the community. So basically the rundown is I think it's every minute, correct me if I'm wrong, every minute that someone doesn't receive CPR, it's 10% loss in survival. So as soon as, the quicker you can get it, the better your chances are. So they do that, and if you look at the handout I gave to you, it's early access to emergency care. So the first one is bystanders recognizing what cardiac arrest is, and I don't think there's one firefighter in the room that would say that they haven't walked into a situation before where someone called 911 because someone was unconscious and they didn't know how to recognize it, and they could have done something for the 3 to 5 minutes before we got there. Not their fault. It's just lack of education, that's all it is. And then early CPR, obviously, once you know that something's wrong, to start CPR. And then the hardest part is defibrillation. So basically what it is if you don't have a defibrillator, it's okay, but defibrillation kind of shocks your heart's rhythm, and it makes it into a rhythm that it can sustain itself with. So that's like the 3 main points. And also, Section D on that handout is also early advanced care, which would be getting someone a paramedic ambulance, because unlike EMT basics and first responders like we all are here, they have a lot of medications and skills that we don't have. So it's basically improving the chain of survival. If you look at cities across the country like Seattle, I think Seattle's 50% or above 50% survival rate or something like that. Yeah, their fire department is this, and their people have a 50% survival rate, whereas here it's much, much lower. I don't know the exact number, but it's much lower. So when you do this, it really, really is good for your community. So what we have right now and what we got our program with, we didn't have any CPR classes. We're going to start offering that. So I think Lieutenant Lawless and Dave Evans, who's sitting right here with us, are both CPR instructors. They've agreed to start teaching classes for us. And we're going to try and just get more defibrillators in public places, so restaurants, public gathering places, stuff like that. I don't know if I can come back here at some time. Georgetown had put some on all their public buildings. I know that the town's, hard up for cash, but if in the future we could find a way to fund AEDs for all the town buildings, that would be a good step. And then we're just going to talk with businesses and try and get their employees in and offer it to the public. So that's pretty much where we're at now. We will have to renew the designation, but if you have any questions, go for it.
No, the only thing I had is, I know I have a business in town, and I got a friendly letter from the chief. A couple other people got a friendly letter, in which I agree. I mean, you need, in certain businesses with so many people, 5 more, whatever, to have a defibrillator. Can I afford it? Probably not. Like you said, can we find funding? Can we find a program to do that?
They are affordable, and that's something to mention, is that you don't have to spend a couple $1,000s to get one. There's ones that are a couple hundred. Now, are they like the best ones out there? No, but will they do the job? Yes.
And the other point that I was trying to make is, like, you have the lock boxes and what have you. And this is all stuff to help the community. I mean, it's gonna get you guys into the building. I've gotten a lot of kickback as a chairman of the board. Why do they want these lock boxes? Why do they want these defibrillators? And this is why I want you up here to explain it and let the town people realize it's all to help. It's all to help them and do your job easy and what have you.
The lock boxes actually are, this is kind of off my purview here as a
No, but I'm
fire
just
safe,
trying
yeah.
to, like, do an overlay of
It's
it.
to prevent less damage so we can get into a place
Right,
that's,
I
yeah.
agree, but I'm just trying to say that, trying to show that all you guys do is all good for the town.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And again, I commend all you guys on behalf of the board for all your hard work, all that you've done, and I know a lot of times it isn't all good graces back between the selectmen and you guys, and I don't want you to leave here, and I've said it before, each and every one of you guys, we're here to work. I mean, it's sometimes it's, you know, budget reasons, tough discussions or whatever. At the end of the day, we're all here for one reason, to work together, and like you did, and the people did for all this hard work, and I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I don't know if anyone else.
Do you have defibrillators on, you know, when you respond? Is it?
Yep,
is it-
yep, so that's a requirement, actually, as part of this program, but as part of what we are now, and maybe when I'm done here, the chief can explain a little more. We're gonna be a licensed emergency first responder organization now, and we're gonna improve off of that, but it's a required piece of equipment, and it has been for a while now. How many years? Probably, at least, you've had them for at least 10, right?
before they were required.
Yep.
But I want to clarify, I mean, if a business had one there and they don't, and they're not trained in
Yeah.
it, and you come, I'm waiting for you. I
So
mean,
that's,
I
that's
don't
part of the,
understand,
that's part of the chain of survival, so
you know?
we obviously take a little bit to get there. A 911 call goes through, and then we have to respond, so
So you work with business leaders and get them trained? Is
trained so
what-
that
is
they can
what it would
initiate
be?
the care, and when we get there, we'll take over, but, I mean, the 5 minutes that someone doesn't get defibrillation can mean
So
death,
you
pretty
want to
much.
involve the community in the
Absolutely.
defibrillation, in the CPR process?
Businesses don't have to buy one, it's a good idea. If you have a lot of traffic through your business, or your guys are going out and doing dangerous activities that puts them at a higher risk,
Yeah.
that strengthens the chain so that they can start getting the care before we get there.
Anyone have anything else? Good. All set, Ed? Mike? Well, again, thank you everyone for coming in. I appreciate it. I appreciate your hard work, and thank you for showing up. Okay, so we gotta go back one step. Under old business.
Yeah, I've got the item.
Are we not doing budget discussion?
We got there yet.
Okay, we can go back there.
You leave it?
Yeah. No, I was going to, yeah.
Had enough?
Okay, you wanna go there first?
No, whatever you, I just didn't wanna make sure you.
I have dyslexia, I was going from the
That's
bottom
fine,
up.
I just wanna make sure we still get to
We
it if we
mind
need to.
doing the old business now?
Now, yeah?
Yeah, do you mind?
Sure.
Okay, and then we'll leave some time, all right. I wanted to bring something up. I shared a little bit of this information with Bill as a courtesy, because he's the chair, and I normally don't like to drop things on our board, but I couldn't call you guys up and say, I gotta share something with you. So I wanted to, and I'm not making any motion tonight, but probably at some point in the future, I will make a motion again and ask this board to reconsider my proposal regarding the firing range. I do have concerns, which I expressed at last meeting, concerns about contamination, concerns about sound, and concern about public safety. And I want to share a little bit of research with you. My proposal and my future motion will very likely be something to the effect that I would like to get it absolutely in writing, whether it's a letter or even an email, from every agency that would say, yes, we approve the firing range plan. But the whole thing is going to be dependent on a very detailed plan, a reasonable plan and design by the police department. So I wanted to share this with you, and this will be entered into the public record. I'm going to read certain sections. I want to focus right now on frangible, lead-free ammo. What I discovered is that frangible lead-free ammo is made with copper tin composite material. And frangible, I'll read this here, frangible lead-free projectiles literally crumble to dust upon impact when surfaces harder than themselves are hit. Now keep in mind that, in a little bit of research that I did, that each officer, when they do training, probably are gonna fire off about 100 projectiles. And so now what we're doing is, instead of using lead, we're using copper and tin. Perhaps there's some magnesium in there as well. These are all trace elements. So if I call your attention to the next page, I'm gonna read this out. I know you can read, but I want the public to see what it is that we're seeing here. I'll read this out from the Minnesota Department of Health regarding copper in drinking water. It is an essential element, copper is, it is an essential element for living organisms, including humans, and in small amounts necessary in our diet to ensure good health. However, Too much copper can cause adverse health effects, including vomiting, diarrhea, stomach cramps, and nausea. It has also been associated with liver damage and kidney disease. The human body has a natural mechanism for maintaining the proper level of copper. However, children under 1 year old have not yet developed this mechanism. And so, of course, there could be toxic effects. Now, at the last meeting, we talked about that water table is only about 6 feet underneath this area that the shooting range is going to be, considered. If you take a look at the next item that I prepared for you for your reading, again, keep in mind that these projectiles will disintegrate if they strike something harder. I looked at this online, and you can look on it as well. I also looked at some videos. The velocity and distance duplicates a lead bullet, and these bullets can generate quite a distance as well. These bullets can travel 2 miles if they don't hit anything, and they certainly will penetrate a human body up to 5 inches. So, I'm not here to bust chops or to complain that you didn't support my motion. All I'm asking is serious consideration in the course of the next several weeks that we expect from the police department a very detailed plan. And that plan brings into focus the realities that I've discovered in my layman's research, that I don't want to be in a position where we've just spent millions of dollars to protect the aquifer by buying land, and then we set up a small shooting range and we poison the water with something other than lead, such as copper. I think it's extremely important that we ask the police department for a detailed plan, and I want to hear or see actually a write-off. I want the National Heritage to say yes, I want the DEP to say yes, Fish and Game to say yes, and I'd like to see it in writing after they've reviewed this plan.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So I appreciate it.
No
Appreciate
problem.
your time.
As I stated to you, Joe, and thank you for your work, I know I had the conversation with the gentleman that was ahead of this shooting range, and he had told me they were gonna put down a material on the ground which was not gonna be able to penetrate the lead through. It was a recycled hot top or recycled concrete, and they were gonna do cleaning of it. But what I can do as a chairman is I can forward this paperwork that you're giving us over to that gentleman and let him look at it. And Denise, I think you know what Joe's looking for. Maybe you can drop an email and ask the questions as well.
Well, I think it's something if the board, if Joe's making, he said he's not making a motion tonight, but it would be something that the board would have to approve, that you want these things in writing before the project moves forward.
Can I ask you a question, Joe?
Sure.
I mean, from what I heard, and again, I'm pretty much a layperson on this topic, appreciate your research, Joe, and concerns. Certainly, we don't want to pollute the water with something other than lead or anything for that matter. But it seems like procedurally, I thought we heard that the DEP doesn't have a permitting process for firing ranges, so to get them as a large bureaucracy here in Mass to endorse something, I don't know that there would be we could ask, and certainly it doesn't hurt to ask, but I'm not
I'd
so,
be satisfied with an email.
I'm not so sure that somebody would endorse it. I think the Heritage Foundation would certainly chime in on whether or not, and it may be an opinion, right, Mike, that certainly they would renew it with all their area of expertise, but there's no formal permitting requirement to approve or deny, is that? We don't know. We're not sure.
Right.
So, all I'm saying is, Joe, is I agree with you in principle.
Right.
But to narrow the motion, if you proposed one to, we require these formal approval letters. I don't know that we're gonna get that.
Well, that's why I'm not prepared to make a motion. I think the chair, along with Denise, can communicate to Officer Fournier, the board's consensus is, can you give us something in writing?
Yeah, and I think,
And incorporate these concerns.
and ultimately, if copper is a hazardous material, then how are we going to mitigate?
And when he left the night,
Or
Well,
prevent?
the mitigation is, no,
How are we gonna prevent,
Yeah.
and if there is a copper residue that poses a
well,
potential?
there is mitigation. It's, the berm, therefore, has to be used just like we would use for lead projectiles.
Concrete pad they talked
Concrete,
about.
or maybe
which-
asphalt, I don't know if asphalt
Yeah.
can be used. Bill, did you say that there was another
There's a
hard form?
material, it's ground up hot top, it's ground up concrete. It can be wet and compacted in place where
like a hard
nothing.
pack?
It's a hard pack, it won't penetrate. And I know, I had a conversation with Ed on the phone about that already, and he told me that's what they were planning on using on the base of it. But again, I don't wanna get into how they're gonna build it or whatever. I understand what Joe's saying. I know when Ed left that night, he kinda knew our concerns. I can forward these concerns
Yeah.
to him as well.
That's all I'm asking at this
Right,
point.
and I think that,
Because if there's copper residue, can you vacuum it up? What can you do?
right,
Can you
I think
keep it-
Ed was, the night he left here, if I took it the right way, there wasn't a lot of, lot of sign-ups you could get. There wasn't a lot of stuff edged in stone. He was saying that there was a shooting range over another town, it was flat land, they were shooting in the woods.
That's what
So,
I'm- that's what
I
I'm
think
saying.
he'll do his due diligence, and what I'll do is get this to him and
There's
have that
nothing-
conversation.
But there's nothing wrong with us, in the absence of standards or
Yep.
laws.
Yeah, making
there's-
sure.
There's nothing preventing this board from imposing a high standard. I
Right.
mean, there's contamination, there is a public
Yep.
safety issue, those bullets will fly.
Yep.
And fly far and hard.
Yep.
And then we have the noise issue. I want to put, for example, we need to have trees that are grown up enough that actually prevent the noise from being at a maximum level. I mean, it is in a neighborhood as well. And perhaps, should we be looking at public hearings a little bit further? I just want to slow down a little bit, because my disappointment with the presentation, no reflection at all, Officer Forney, a very dedicated officer, was that it was a little too loose for my taste. It was, well, we're all set, we're ready to go. We're all set, we're ready to go. I heard that several times, and so-and-so said it was fine, and this other agency said it was fine, and there are no standards, and so we should just build it and go. And I was just not comfortable with that. And perhaps that's a mischaracterization, not a reflection on Officer Forney's character
So-
by any stretch, but the way I understood the proposal, it wasn't formal enough to give me comfort. And then when I do this research, I get a little nervous.
Okay, so for me to go back to Mr. Fournier, we have noise, we have a plan, we're looking for a plan. We're looking for some,
Oh, I don't know, how do we mitigate?
Well, they're gonna clean up the copper residue and some
right,
other
but we're looking for,
potential contaminants.
not approvals, but we're looking for,
If possible, we'd like to get written approvals or emails.
suggestions? What?
If possible, I'd like to get some written approvals or emails.
Written approval,
From
okay,
the
written.
agents, from the agencies that he spoke to. I mean, I know, they told him he's all set, so that's good news. By the
Right.
way, I don't want to, I want to make sure that everyone understands, I am a big fan of this project. I support it
Right.
conceptually, I understand
written
it, but it has to be
approvals.
done right.
And you wanna have a you wanna answer on contamination?
The contamination, like Dan said, after I read this research, it makes no difference whether we're shooting lead bullets or
Okay.
copper-filled bullets. If it goes into the ground and it travels 6 feet, which won't take much, with rainwater over one season, we're gonna contaminate the water table.
Okay.
Where did your research show that the round will travel 2 miles and could penetrate a human body, what'd you say, 5 inches? Where does it say that?
The second page, I did not do a good job, and I didn't do a good
Because
job.
from what I heard, if it hit something, it would just disintegrate.
No,
But
You don't
but
wanna
like-
experiment
But like
with it.
Mr. Bob O'Henley said, I wouldn't want to get hit with it.
yeah, no, these bullets will.
Have an experiment.
Well, I did ask Bob O'Hanley for some help
I
on
would
some
still
issues.
jump out of the way, even if you told me it was gonna disintegrate.
A tumbling bullet sounds very, yeah, very lame. A tumbling bullet basically is a bullet that begins to spin, and after it hits you and it begins to tumble, it's tearing up tissue. I don't want to get too
Right, so-
graphic here.
Not for nothing, if it hit you in the eye, anything would hurt.
Right.
I don't want to get hit by a frangible bullet.
So I got
believe me.
contamination, I got the bullet travel, and,
Sound
I got noise, I already had that
and
there.
public safety.
Public safety.
We want to meet a good standard so that the public is very supportive of this project.
Okay.
Public safety, the people walking through the area.
Okay, yeah, all right,
We need 100% confidence. There's no room for error on when you're shooting guns.
okay. So
I
I'm gonna-
did receive a call about that, and I just want to make sure that the abutters have been notified I think they were, but I just received a call about that, questioning whether they had been, and,
From an abutter?
yeah.
I thought we had a meeting earlier on this, and was the abutters?
But Bill, Board of Selectmen retains authority over it, so if there were complaints, whether
Yeah.
it be one or
Right.
100,
Right,
we could limit the hours, we could stop it completely, we still have reserved the right to change it.
Just
Okay.
a question, Mr. Chairman. Have the members of the general public been advised so that they could come in here to a meeting and voice their concerns or being in favor of the project, do you know?
when we met with them the first time, was it publicly talked
So,
about?
it was actually discussed before I started here. This has
Yeah.
been going on before
There's
the
never
land
been a
was even
public hearing,
purchased.
yeah.
Been on 2 or 3 agendas,
So it's been on several agendas here. We did meet the last time, not last week, the time prior that we met with Officer Fournier. I know he discussed his plan that he would put the abutters on a call list and let them know when shooting would take place, things like that. It's not required to have a formal public hearing. I think the board, at the time, was okay with his explanation of when the abutters would be notified. So there hasn't been a formal, it's been on several agendas that it's posted in public, but we haven't sent something out and specifically invited neighbors to come in.
I think at some point.
Okay, so let me go,
So you suggested full-blown public hearings?
okay, hold on. So let me go through this list and see if you agree with me or not. So, the gun range, we have noise, we have a plan, a written plan. We have to write the approvals. You're looking for written approvals of what's gonna happen over there as far as
From the agency
agencies, yeah, I'll put agencies,
or authorities?
okay. You're looking for answers on contamination. You're looking at more information on bullet travel. You're looking for more information on public safety, a plan and approval. And you're looking to know if the abutters have been notified.
I think that,
Notified.
I think that wraps it
And
up.
the other question I have is, number one, if everyone's on board with this, I can go to Mr. Fournier and do you want to have another meeting, or do you want to just get these things, I can get these answers for you, or do you want to?
I think you don't need a motion. I think you have enough consensus on this board to deliver that list.
Okay.
Plus my attachments.
Right, I got them right here, I wrote on the back of them, right here.
I don't
Okay,
think anybody on this
so
board
I'll
is
take
the
this
same.
to him, and what I may suggest is if he's gonna have to come back and answer us, I would say, unless he wants to give them to me and I take them back to you.
Yeah, no, he should come back with a completed plan, even if it takes a few weeks. He shouldn't come back and rebut any of this. He should come back with a plan. You know, and then once we have a plan, like Ed said, then we can have a public hearing and have people, then we need to educate people. Say, this is what we're planning, and by the way, this is how we took care of this risk, and this is how we took care of that risk. People need to be educated.
Okay. Well, I know we've had this on camera a few times, and I agree with you 100%, but I haven't heard a lot of people complaining about it, but this is the right way to do it. This
I
is the
have
right way
this,
to do it.
I think Ed Watson just hit the tip of the iceberg. I don't think people are aware of what's going on.
Okay,
No, not because it's been intentionally, it's been discussed over almost a 2.5, I think it was discussed in the first year, the first few weeks that I was elected selectman. That was 3 years ago. It's been spread out over about 3 or 4 meetings over a 3-year period, and now if we start, we put a shovel in the ground and start building this thing, we're gonna get complaints.
okay. Denise wanted to talk first.
Yeah, I do just want to remind the board that the money you approved for this will go away on June 30th if it's not spent. So just keep that in mind, that you did approve money for this project.
Well, that's fine. Officer Fournier needs to hopefully get a plan together that we can approve by then,
Okay.
so we can use those.
I gotta let Mike talk first. Okay, Mike, go ahead.
Do you have a written plan submitted? Because I don't have any written plan from the police regarding it. And so,
We don't have a written plan, and I think that in the last meeting, you and him discussed that you're looking for a written plan.
Yeah,
I think he
right.
said he's gonna give it to you.
yeah, I haven't heard from him yet. What I'm planning on doing is contacting Natural Heritage and just telling them in general terms what our thoughts are about Center Street in general, which is what they want to know. And so if he can send me a written document, that will go a long way.
And as I stated in the last meeting, if you could have a gentleman conversation with Mr. Fournier and you and him work together to make that call.
Yeah.
I know we left here under that assumption, so.
Yep.
But I will say, when I talk to him, I'm gonna mention to him that, to get a plan to you. Okay, so we have the consensus, that's what I'm gonna do. I'll get a hold of him, and then, I'll get, have him come back before us with the answers. Is everyone good with that?
Appreciate it,
Yep.
thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate
All
it.
right, so that takes care of that. So now, under old business, is anyone else having under old business again?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
just one, do we have any, to Denise, do we have any update on the complaint that I brought up about the school buses parked on, at Valley Tree?
I haven't done anything, I apologize. It's still on my pending list.
Okay,
Maybe you should put a note on them and say, call Ed.
I have stuff, but I'm gonna let it go again another week. Nothing, it's just kind of following up on different stuff. Mike, you all set?
No, I'm good with
Joe,
that.
you all set?
Yeah, thank you, appreciate it. All
And
set.
Dean? Old business?
It's just, the zoning bylaws, what is that?
So the zoning bylaw has now been given to me to work on.
One more thing, huh?
So
Bylaws?
today I worked on the, reformatting it, putting in the uses table, making sure the color codes were correct. I'm waiting on Jim Freer to give me the table of contents. Once I get the table of contents, I should have a final document that will be ready to be distributed.
Ask you this, I mean, in light of, I think we're gonna need a lot of time to dedicate to the budget. Seems to me, I'm big on making some zoning changes, because that thing is antiquated. But it doesn't seem to me the type of document that we want, 11th hour push before town meeting.
Well, and again, keep in mind that,
And I'm a big fan of maybe having round 2 on a special town meeting, and maybe we should have some open public comment on that.
well, there is a public, you will have to have several public hearings on it. Keep in mind, though, there's not a lot of changes.
How are we gonna squeeze that in by, town meeting?
Well, really, this board just has to vote on the warrant article. But there's not a lot of changes. It's reorganizations, it's adding in a use table that didn't exist, but there's not a lot of legal changes in there. It's more just reorganizing. And then what they want to do is, if it passes the reorg, then have the board start looking at sections to actually make significant changes to the document. So,
But do you have to have public hearings prior to the reorg is what you're doing?
yes, they will have to have, so if we have this done by the end of this week, they can start scheduling their public hearings for March, say.
Who's gonna do that, planning
It's the
board?
planning board has to hold the public hearings. So once we get, hopefully, like I said, hopefully tomorrow, I think everything's done other than the table of contents.
And if zoning board wants to chime in on it, they need to go to the planning board meetings.
No, well, I'll make sure the zoning board gets it once we have a final document. This board will get it, the zoning board will get it. And yes, I mean, you could certainly have your own meetings, and then it would be public hearings to talk to the planning board about it.
Okay, but it's on track for town meeting.
It is on track, and I got it this
The
morning from
first
Jim.
phase.
Yes, I got it this morning. I worked on it this afternoon, did the few changes, sent it back to him. So hopefully tomorrow I'll get that last piece and it'll be ready.
Round 1 is formatting. Sometime in the future, we can talk about rezoning.
Yeah, and I think the plan is right away. I think once town meeting, if they approve the reorg, that's really the important thing. And then you can start chipping away at sections to really redefine some of the laws.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, so, does anyone else have any under old business? You can do it there. Do you have anything, Dan, under old business, anything else?
No, I mean, everything, you've talked about, I mean, selling the commercial land, that's
Right.
on the docket coming
Right.
up. Collecting back taxes.
Yep.
In motion, right?
Right.
Done.
Done?
Okay.
It's all in tax title. We have no outstanding receivables prior to the current year. It's all in tax title.
That's great, right?
Nice.
And all that includes interest.
16% interest.
If you can collect
That's
it,
not bad.
if you can collect it.
So our deficit gap would have been a lot bigger.
Yes. That's correct.
All right, so now, moving to the fiscal 2017 budget discussion.
5 minutes.
So,
Well, it's
just
really you
kidding.
guys.
well, what I was gonna
I think we
suggest, and
talked
I
about
know,
that. Just-
I look around,
Joe's missing a book. No, I have mine.
got mine. I got the stuff right here.
Reading it.
Okay, what I wanted to do, and maybe it's too late tonight because everyone's antsy to go, but what I wanted to do is I wanted to take and go through one major item a night and one minor item a night. And I mean, like, if we did, for instance, I put a pink paper into the, I won't say that one right now, I'm gonna say the water department. So I would call that a major issue that I had, and then maybe we can go to the front of the book and get a small one. Every week until we get this done, I'd like to go through 2 a week and discuss them. I don't know if you're up for that or not, but I can, if you are, I can start with what I had in mind.
Now, Bill, do you wanna just talk amongst yourselves, or is it something that you'd wanna organize and have, like, the departments come before you and talk?
Well, I think we need to have the discussion ourselves, and then if they decide to have them come before us, I think then we'd go to the next step.
So go ahead, dive in.
Okay,
What's on
so
your
I'll
mind?
dive in on the water department. As I went through their numbers, I was wondering and didn't understand why, and again, like Denise just said, maybe they can come before us and explain it. You got a 6% raise on the superintendent. You got, the, extra salary, 62%. I mean, the numbers, in a few places are out of line there, I think. So, go ahead.
So I will, if you look at, so there's the spreadsheet of the requested, and then further in is the actual article that they're submitting. The Water and Sewer Commissioners did not approve a 6% increase for the superintendent. They supported a 3.8% increase. So, there is still an increase over what the board has given out, but it's not quite the 6% that's in his spreadsheet. The superintendent, the commissioners didn't support that.
So it's over by 1.8. As everybody else is 2.
Correct, and I will remind this board that you are the authority to set all salaries. It does not matter if employees work for elected commissions, it does not matter if they're under enterprise funds, you are the salary-setting body. Town meeting cannot set a salary, they cannot overrule a salary. If they put more money in a budget item, that's fine, but if they do not receive that increase unless this board approves that.
Well, in terms of that, I mean, I like consistency, and it is public service. I mean, that's why we're all here. Unless somebody can come before us and say, I'm underpaid. I mean, we got a tight budget, and our budget in draft form is already over budget. It's expenditures exceed revenues, and we haven't even factored in any capital improvements such as the radio request, okay, the one-ton dump truck. You know, so before we ask the taxpayers to agree to tax increases, I don't think there should be, 3.8% pay raises if others in town are getting 2%. I think we have to be fiscally conservative, by pretty much by the spreadsheet. I call it the magic spreadsheet, Taxes go up every year just 2.5% anyways on the levy. So to exceed that 2.5% levy, it's not sustainable in the future. And the fact that we have to exceed the 2.5% levy tells me that our property values aren't keeping up with, the market values are not keeping up with increases in the budget. So I think we as a board should hold the line on salaries unless somebody says, I'm underpaid. And they could always schedule an executive session, right, Denise?
Salary discussion is, unless you're negotiating a contract, and these positions do not fall into contracts, so it would be open session.
It'd be open session. Well, I mean, if somebody thinks they're underpaid, they could make that case, but, to systematically give out formula pay raises, I think we're gonna be in trouble.
And I will just clarify, and it's relatively the same thing, but just keep in mind, the water is not in the general fund budget. They are enterprise funds, so they're funded through the water and sewer rates.
But again, it shouldn't be a tale of two cities. I don't, it's an opinion. We all have opinions, and I have mine. And my opinion is, how can I look somebody in town hall here in the face and say, well, we limited you to 2%, but it's okay that the water department hands out 3.8%? I mean, that's, is that fair? So I believe in a fair playing field. It's all, whether or not it's taxpayer money, it's water rate money. It's Groveland residents to foot in the bill, no matter what label you put on it.
Right. And in Denise, last year, am I correct when I say this? There was a 2.5% increase on the water side, and there was a 2.5% increase on the sewer side, wasn't it?
For the superintendent?
Yeah.
It was more than that.
It was more than that. Okay.
If I remember correctly, it was recommended that it be the 2 or 2.5%, and then it
That's
went to
what
the
we
town
recommended.
meeting floor, and it was increased.
It was, and I actually contested that, but town council did not support me at the time. And now I have it in writing from town council that that was inaccurate and that increase really should not have gone out.
Great.
This body is the only salary-setting body in this town.
All right, so we have one here that I say that we need to turn around.
The gist of it is, I think we need to keep within Prop 2.5.
Well,
I don't know
I
how
don't-
my
we don't-
fellow
My point-
BOS members
I think, Dan, you're gonna get broad support on that, don't?
I think that this one position was given more than they needed last year. Why are they going up again? Number one, maybe because they got it last year, but I say, on this one position, I say we just hold it at 0, and that's it for the time being.
Agree with you, we flatline it.
That's just my opinion. So,
Do you want to have them here to discuss it, or you
well, I
just
think we're
want-
gonna have to. I think we owe them the respect to come in. So it's up to the board. That was my, that's,
agree.
That's fine by me.
So you'd like them to come before you?
That's why we have to
come
have that
meet?
marathon session on the 28th.
Well, why don't we work through our proposed changes and then get them all coming in after that? Otherwise, we're doing it piecemeal, you know?
right, so that's what I was saying, is right now,
We
We're
could go through
talking-
our proposed changes and then
Right.
have another marathon session where there's a parade of, you know,
right, so let's
debate
just, so we're talking right now, let me see where we are here. I thought it was water and sewer, but we're talking water and sewer. So does anyone else have any other changes discussing water and sewer they want to go through and make any other changes? I mean, that's where, the ones that stood out at me was that number there.
No, I'd like an explanation on why the board is not supporting the increase, and, you know, the superintendent's putting in for a certain increase, but the board's not supporting it. Based upon the fact that he got more than what was allowed last year, I'd flatline it.
well, I mean, my take on that is a lot of people think they can go to town meeting and they can walk away with money. It works.
Or was it legal?
It's the spendthrift convention.
All right, so do you guys want to go down through the spreadsheet, and anyone else discuss anything on this, on the spreadsheet, or?
On strictly on water?
Yep, we're doing water and sewer right now.
I can tell you they're also having some conversations with them. They are also going to submit articles for their capital plan, which they've sent and come here to talk about some water main replacement. They are planning to put through a capital article for some significant money to start replacing some water mains.
Yes, I went to that meeting. Significant is, it's a good word to use.
Just
So-
a question on that. I didn't see anything in there, but maybe it's premature. At some point, they're going to probably take over the electric company building. At that point, we should be getting some rent out of that. So there should be a line item that they have in there. We should be discussing with them perhaps what the rent is going to be for that particular building.
Well, I think part of that, because I had talked to them about the building and expenses, so part of it is, right now, there's no, it's really unknown when it's gonna be available. They're looking at a year from now. And then if they have to do some upgrades or maintenance of the building before they occupy it, it may be July of 2017 before they're actually occupying it.
Okay, so
I
that's why
talked
they
about
didn't include it?
I talked about expenses, and they said that they feel with this budget request, any expenses that would be needed to update the building would be included in this budget.
Okay, Denise, help me out, because I'm not gonna call myself illiterate, but 62% increase in the extra salary adjustment, what was that for? Amount increased $8,215, is that just bringing the numbers down? On the 2017 fiscal,
Extra for salary adjustments.
extra for salary adjustments,
I don't know. I don't know
well,
what that
62%. And the
Because I don't-
increase is $8,215. So is that for overtime? I mean, is that for people within the department? I mean,
I don't know what that represents.
well, I think we need to have the conversation with them, because that's $8,000 right there. That's a big increase for whatever it is. Am I reading it wrong?
No, it's in there.
I mean, Bill, I mean, we could go line by line on all of these. I mean, wouldn't it be easier just for us to set a percentage increase and, I mean,
But I think what we need to do, in all fairness to the water and sewer, is have them come in and plead their case, because I have a
Talk about
question
each
there.
line item.
Let's go through, and the ones I'm questioning already, I'm questioning the superintendent.
6%,
The 6%, I'm questioning the extra salary adjustment. Let's go through and label out the ones that we want to discuss with them, then when they get here, we can discuss it with them. I don't want to go blindside and have them come in and not have the conversation, I want to have it all laid out. I mean, that's the ones I saw, you got overtime was 2%, and you're going down the list, you got the health, that's probably 5% is probably standard, right?
Well, and again, if you look at the actual article, there's nothing that increases other than the health insurance line and the superintendent's line that exceeds the 2%. So that extra for salary adjustment may have been a request by the superintendent that the commissioners denied, because it's not in what the commissioners are supporting for town meeting, which is a few pages in the actual
Few pages
article.
in more? Oh, so.
Yeah, if you go a few pages, you'll see the actual article that the commissioners are supporting for town meeting.
Okay.
And with the
Oh, I got
exception of
ya.
health insurance and the superintendent, everything
Oh,
is 2% or
all
less.
right, see?
So this
they-
is the request by the department head versus
So
what
he
the
dropped the
commissioners.
4% over there, and then, where was that other one? Additional.
So I don't see that additional salary adjustment,
It's been pulled out.
so it looks like they either
Well, they
eliminated
did
that.
additional money at 62%.
Correct, but I don't see that, being absorbed unless it's in the labor or wages, but that doesn't increase more than 2%.
So what would the additional money mean?
Well, I'm saying I don't know if they've included it in their
Well, you got
approvals.
a negative for crew.
Hold on one
Mi-
second.
minus
I'm
19%.
messed up here. I'm reading this page as the water department, right?
Yep,
And then I flip and go over, and then I have the sewer department.
yep,
So that's where I'm messed up, because we're talking sewer.
but if you flip a few more,
Flip a few more, that's where I'm messed up. Okay,
you'll see an actual, that page right there, I
okay.
think, has the article, and that's what the commissioners approved. So, I don't see that extra for salary adjustment, I'd have to add up the laborers' wages to see if it's included in there.
Okay,
But that did not increase more than 2%, that wage line, so
Okay.
I'm assuming that 62% didn't make it through the commissioner's approval.
okay, I got you. I'm with you.
And I can check on that, but it doesn't look like it's included in what the commissioners supported.
All right. Well, you got me straightened out there.
Yeah, this is really the only department, because the commissioners, it's sort of a double layer. They vote it and approve it, and then it comes to you guys.
Yep.
Where the other departments, it's just department requested right to you, but this one has sort of a,
So if we went to that,
Requested and
if we
approved
went to
already.
that back page, we're still on the superintendent. We're at a 3.8% raise. It's still,
Yes,
it's still
correct.
more than,
2,500 bucks?
Just a question on that. Looking through the book, that seems to be the only department that, with commissioners, that didn't submit their own. That was submitted by the superintendent, a budget. Why didn't the commissioners submit that?
that's what the commissioners do on the article submission.
Okay.
So he submits the request to them, they discuss it and put together what they support for town meeting, which is the article.
Okay.
and that 3.8%.
without any color commentary, though. We don't really know why.
We don't know, I mean, I suppose we could look at their minutes so they could come in, I don't know why they voted what they did.
And the 3.8% is on the water and sewer side, both? Yeah, water,
Yes,
no, that's sewer. It says sewer.
It's under both water and sewer.
So is the 3.8 for water and then 3.8 again for sewer?
Yes, because his salary is
So
split
it's really 7 point something percent.
Well, no, because his salary is 70% comes out of the water line and 30% comes out of the sewer line.
Okay.
So in total, it's still a 3.8, but you have to split
Right,
it up into
okay, I
both
got you,
budgets,
okay.
because they're an
All right,
enterprise
I got
fund.
you. Okay. I don't know if anyone else, so are we comfortable with this, or you guys want to have further discussion with them?
Well, we'll put we can put a list together of the people that we want to see, and then like Dan said, when we're kind of done, then we can have one or two evenings where all of these folks will be given 15 minutes.
But Denise, is it
So-
possible if we can get Cassandra to compile, go through the budget, because it is time consuming for everyone. All of the salary request increases for everybody. I mean, I'd like to break out that component. Who's asking for 3.8? Who's asking for,
To my knowledge, no one put in an increase other than this department.
that's the only one.
In going through them, they were all at straight 2% or 2.5%. The one union was 2.5%. Everyone else was, no one else asked for an additional adjustment this year,
Well,
As far as salaries.
except for the
except for the fire chief.
fire department.
What about fire?
I wasn't
Fire
gonna do
chief
that.
requested
I
an
wasn't gonna do that
increase, yes.
today. It's
No.
gonna be another one.
I understand, but to me, payroll is one issue.
Well, you got,
That's one issue.
you got two people that, two positions that are looking to go from part-time to full-time. So it would be adding two new positions, full-time with benefits and medical insurance and retirement, et cetera, et cetera. I think we need to look at both of those.
We need to break those component costs.
Ed, which ones are the two?
Fire chief,
Yeah,
and, part-time building custodian,
Oh, yeah.
which would go to full-time.
Right.
From 17,000 appropriated in 16, we're looking for 35.
What I'm driving at, Denise, is if we adopted this as is with no changes, carte blanche, right? We're how much over?
219,000.
Right, so I like to start with that number.
Yep.
Start with the answer and work backwards. So if we could break out the easy changes, which are, who's looking to, for more than the norm,
Right.
those are the softballs to me. No, and we reduced that 200 number down to
Well, it,
Right.
150.
but it's kinda more complicated than that.
Well, and the water and sewer, again, isn't in that deficit number. So in that number, it's the fire chief is the only one, and then we, the highway road commissioner, myself,
So even though
we're
we set
increasing.
the rate for the water department, the wages, it's not part of our deficit because they have their own enterprise fund.
Correct,
So they run it as surplus.
correct,
Okay.
correct. So that's
So-
not, so that wouldn't help our deficit if you change or alter that number at all.
But firewood,
Correct.
Firewood, that's why,
if we start with a 200 and say, okay, what are the big, I like to look at big percentage changes when I analyze things. So this is up 50%. Well, let's zone in on that one first. This
Well, I
one's
can
up
take-
47%.
I can take the budget spreadsheet and just add a percentage column, so you can see what every item
Can
is.
you do that?
Yeah, I can do that
'Cause
easy enough.
Analyzing it, I go look for the big digits, and you start with the big numbers and materiality. What's the most material change in this budget over last year? And let's zone in on why is it up 5%?
But
Why
when
is
I
it
was-
up
I can
18%?
do
where
that.
I was trying to go with this, Dan,
You with me?
I'm with you, but where I was trying to go with this is if you just go to the fire budget, and maybe I'm wrong, if you go to the fire budget, where I just had it, and I didn't really wanna talk about it,
Kind of in the middle.
there's a lot of overspending, and it might not be overspending, but there's a lot of numbers out of whack. I went through that, and there's a lot of numbers that have been, from what it was last year, for what it's gonna be this year, it's
I understand.
uniforms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So-
If Denise has it on Excel or something similar, if you can add another column.
I can just, and
That's easy to drag that without,
yes, and I will just say, Bill, to your point, there are some departments that the overall budget may not increase. I mean, that one's specific because there's a salary increase, but the expenses, a lot of them are just reorganized.
I understand.
And the police department was the same way. Instead
Right,
of
right, they
funding
move
fuel,
money
they've
around.
moved money and
I
requested it in
understand all
different
that.
well, we
places.
should look at the zero budget transfers. I love that stuff, because
Well,
if you didn't need the line item last year, 20 grand for office supplies, and all of a sudden it morphs into salaries and wages, maybe you didn't need it.
Maybe I'm doing this wrong, but
You with
I
me?
was trying to go and kind of be educational to the point that we look through each one minor and one major. I guess that's probably gonna take too much time, but I think as selectmen, we should go through each one, but
Well, and
I know what Dan's saying, bring out the things that are out of whack.
Right. Well, and I would
Let's
say
look
to
at them.
you, we could probably go
Bill,
through.
I agree with you by going, we could do 2 departments tonight, but I want to see where the big swings were.
Right, and I can do, but we could
And the
probably
o-
go through, Bill, 10 of the small departments, just, moderator,
move it out.
accountant. I mean, those are just basic.
I just
Fly
There's
through 'em.
nothing more. We
Right.
could go through those pretty easily, and
Right.
then you can isolate the bigger ones. I can easily send you tomorrow.
If something's up
percentage
1 or
increase on the
2%, I
spreadsheets.
mean, it's inflationary factor,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
If it's up 10% and something else is down 50%, well, what happened?
Yep.
Even-
can send that to
even
you. You know.
Even major departments we can go through. You know, the building inspector is asking for 0.
Right. So what would, how long would that take?
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
Right,
That's
so
my
we
point.
could go page
Joe,
by
he's a new
page
guy,
and-
though.
and isolate,
He's a new guy.
departments you
Setting a
wanna
good example is what.
further.
He sure is.
Well, okay, whatever. All
So
right.
it may not be one, I mean, I think you
Yeah.
could get through quite a few
You can get
of the
through quite a
regular
few,
departments
yeah.
and.
Right, there's not too many that we're out of whack with, I agree, but I was just thought procedurally it would be good to go through them, but I mean, that's fine.
No,
I think the big ones are water and sewer, or the fire department, school. I mean, those are.
Well, Ed just brought up the point about the highway department,
we have to
And-
work with that, the deficit and whittle it down is what I want to approach it
and
as.
I agree with you 100%.
We gotta start with 200 and change and start working it down to 0.
And then go past that point to start accommodating some capital improvements.
Well, even more, Denise, I mean, do we have our benefit obligation in here?
Nope.
Not anywhere in here. Is that 85 grand a year?
That would be ideal, yes. We do not have that in there.
We
We don't
gotta
have any
squeeze that in there.
stabilization.
So to me, it's really, we're closer to 300 because we're kidding ourselves if we don't fund that. That's gonna be a balloon payment.
And I spoke with,
And the baby boomers are retiring, like you said.
I spoke with the finance director in Merrimack today, and she just got an estimate from Whittier, which is much higher than she expected. So I put a call into the Whittier business manager to find out if she has any estimates, because like Merrimack, I'm sure we're seeing increased student population going there, which will drive our cost up. So hopefully tomorrow I'll have an answer from Whittier on what an estimate, a safe estimate would be, and see if what I have in there is even realistic.
Anything from Essex Aggie?
Essex Aggie is famous for not having a number until they actually count school enrollment in October. So they'll give me this is what to budget, but they did that last year, and then they added 3 students.
What about the benefit obligation? Can we get a line item in there?
We can get a line item.
Because I think we're kidding ourselves, leaving it out. It's not
Well,
true.
You know, another thing I think we're kidding ourselves is, if you take the school budget and we don't ever hold them to the fire, we're kidding ourselves, because we're gonna be here next year, and it's gonna be 585 to 685, and next year, it's gonna keep growing. We really need to start holding people to the fire, and I think that's what we need to do, but,
What do we do? Write a letter to the school committee and say?
well, we have them come in, we're gonna,
They are coming in.
we have them come in, we
And-
have the
and-
discussion,
They're scheduled.
get better representation between the town of Groveland and the school department, and we need to get people to go in to see our legislators and plead our case. Like we said last week, we gotta plead the case. You know, special ed costs are high, what can we do to bring it down? Move those numbers around. We can't be paying 24-hour care for a kid that never goes into our school system. We should be paying 6 hours a day care, but we can have that discussion another night.
And Dan, as far as the OPEB, my hope would be that by the next meeting, or the meeting after that at the latest, that we have a free cash number. And that's when I would say, if we have free cash, we designate a portion of it to OPEB, a portion to stabilization. And then if you want to use that to cover some of the capital, depending on what it is, that's what we should look at, I would say, every year.
Is it-
Merrimack does a third of it goes into OPEB, a third goes into capital stabilization, a third goes into regular stabilization
We
on
should
free
have a
cash.
systematic formula for that, because it's a liability.
Yep.
It's not, that it's not.
Yep.
And how much of the overlay, the assessment overlay money there is gonna be released? Are you just cycling that through on a 3 or 5 year basis? How does that work?
So on this one, I recommended using 175,000. We used 195 last year. And that still leaves them, I think it's the 3 most recent years untouched.
So we're not grabbing all of it?
We're not grabbing all of it, no.
So it won't be a case of we live today and pay tomorrow.
No, and we have a few ATB cases pending. There's a big Verizon one that's been going on for years. A couple of our bigger properties put in for abatement requests for this year, so if they are granted, then the fiscal 16 money may be decreased on what's available, but that still leaves plenty of available funds for future years.
So if their future benefit obligation is, say, $85,000 for that accrual, we could potentially grab some money out of overlay, because that's real money.
Correct,
It's there.
correct. As long as the assessors release it, yes.
Well,
But-
they'd have to vote on that.
If we,
Board of Assessors.
we're talking hypothetical numbers, but if all the capital improvements get passed through, if for some reason they got passed through, how much would that put us over?
So it depends. It was, I think, 219. in total, but if we don't have enough free cash, then I would recommend, and I know you don't like this, but I would recommend some format of borrowing, so that we're not paying $219 upfront. We're paying, I did the calculation roughly the other night,
So you'd be borrowing to buy a truck or borrowing to buy radios?
and it's their 5 years, because it's departmental equipment, so it would
Would
be
that
sort of a
department
quick
pay for that?
borrowing. No, it's just under the Mass General Law, it's considered departmental equipment. So the useful life on those are all really considered 5 years.
Would it make more sense, I mean, you know, would it make more sense that if departments want things in the future for capital improvements, that they have some discretion and we do pay for that debt service through their departments? It's not prohibited.
It's not prohibited, but I don't know that you wouldn't have to just increase their budget to cover it, because I don't know how some could cover debt service on a
Because we
truck
talked
or-
about before, there is some discretionary spending, like I cried foul about, you know, the PR guy type of thing. If there's 5,000 there, it could be $5,000 in truck payments,
Correct.
you know, $5,000 in radio payments.
Right.
So.
But I would
you
hope
know,
that we would,
and that would give each department head a little more discretion over what they want to buy and how to budget it.
in the old saying is like people say all the time, do you need it or do you want it?
If they really
So if
need
we-
it, they
So if
might
we
find
really
a way.
need it, and like I said the highway truck is used every day of the week, it's in the salt, it's used every day. I personally think we need it. Now, that's just me, but we gotta weigh it, do you need it or do you want it? When the radios in the, all junk, then we need it. Yeah, I mean, that's what we have to find out, do we need it or do we want it? We gotta go do the extra work and find that out, yeah, that's how I feel.
Right, well, and I think unfortunately with this year's capital, there's only a few items that, I mean, capital seems pretty intent that they're all needed based on the current equipment and current condition of some of this equipment. You know, whether or not you agree with that is up to you guys, but if that's the case, it's 227,000 is what they've submitted, so.
So if you did that over 5 years, what do you get, like 2.5% on a 3%?
It's actually increased a bit, so I'd say 3.5% to 4% is what you really should be estimating.
And when we did the police department radios, did we finance them?
So you're gonna look at 40+ thousand a year for
About
that.
43, I think, yes.
43 for that
The
debt
police
service.
communication center is being borrowed. The 160, because we couldn't pay for it all up
Comes
front.
out of the general fund.
It's budgeted under the debt limit, yes. And there is that 1 year lag time, so when it's approved, if it's approved in fiscal 16, you don't borrow it until fiscal 17, and the first principal is fiscal 18. So there's usually a little lag time when you actually have to start financing them.
Right. All right, so to move forward, I guess we don't need to pick this book apart. It sounds like you guys are gonna go with the spreadsheet from Denise, and you're gonna go that route.
And then I do think you should still go department by department, and if there's any questions as you're going through them.
Quicker and easier.
Right, and as you have questions or if something
that.
jumps out,
Okay.
again, most departments complied with submitting goals, accomplishments, significant changes, so you can see what, departments are doing based on what they're requesting.
Should we have them in before they speak with finance? Finance, what?
Finance has not set a schedule. They were meeting tonight. I'm hoping they left me one. They had not, this would be the first night, if they've all attended, that they were gonna meet as a group, because they haven't. So I don't know who finance is meeting with or when. Maybe it's-
They need more members, don't they?
They do need more members, and that's part of the problem. They have 5 members, and they need all 5 to have a quorum.
Can you put something on the website? Is there already something on
Yeah,
there?
I have it on there.
Okay.
I've announced it a few times. I've asked them to reach out. So it makes me nervous, because I know one of their members is gonna be gone for a few weeks in April. So if they don't have their budget decisions done, they need to have that voted on if she's not gonna be around for a town meeting, because they only have 5 members. So,
Okay.
Can
So-
the chair act as an interim?
I don't believe so, no. I mean, I guess you could appoint someone on this board to act as an interim if you needed to. They are appointed by you, so.
By me?
The
You,
board.
the board,
They're
yeah.
appointed by the board, so.
Well, I mean, if worse comes to worse, I think that's what we should do if we have to appoint someone to fill in for the time being, if it gets to that point.
Well, we have to find someone that's.
You have to find someone that wants to be appointed, correct. But I will send you all tomorrow, and Ed, I'll leave it for you, a spreadsheet with the percentage increase right on there. I did ask, I did send an email, or I left it for the finance chair to invite them to the March 7th meeting, when the school is here. I know at the last meeting, they didn't seem too intent to meet with the school department, but perhaps since they'll be here, maybe they'll come over and entertain that meeting as well.
Okay. So I guess moving down the list, the finance director's time?
So really, the only thing I had was to try and finalize some meetings, just so I could plan for the next few weeks.
Is it, the meetings?
So do we want to plan for, or try for a March 28th meeting that Monday night?
I'll be here.
I'll be here.
Mike's gonna be here. Mike Wood.
March 28th, can you meet the meeting?
Yeah, right now, I guess that's okay.
It's okay.
So,
Dan, do you know if that will work for you?
I don't know, I have to check my calendar, and I don't have it with me.
All right, so I'll tentatively do,
I'd like to be here.
I'd like
We
to
need
be
you
here.
here.
I mean, I would really
I
ideally.
don't know, I'm missing the school committee one, I wanted to be here for that.
Make plans, be here.
Ideally, all 5 of you should really be here when you
We
vote
have
on
to
the
be
warrant, the town meeting warrant and the budget to finalize it. So I'd like to make sure it's a meeting that you're all at.
Gotta do my job and keep the taxes down, you know?
So April 4th is a regular meeting, that is a regular meeting night. That is the night I have you scheduled to actually finalize the warrant and the budget. But as it gets closer, if you feel that it's not gonna be enough time, we could look to schedule another meeting that week. The warrant has to be posted by the end of that week. It has to go out on the 11th.
Monday the
Council's working on the
28th, I'll
warrant
try
that I
to
proposed.
do everything I can.
Not yet. I haven't given them anything.
Cancel all my clients.
But it'll be ready by you.
Oh, yeah.
well, between the, how about the 14th of March? When are you
Bill's
leaving,
away.
Bill?
Bill's away.
Bill's away.
Bill's away.
Where you going, Bill?
It's the first meeting I'm missing.
So Bill's away.
No, that's the 21st, you meant.
Bill's away the
21st.
11th through the 20,
When you're leaving, what, the 8th?
I'm leaving on the 10th, and I'm
Okay.
coming back on the
8th or 27th or
27th,
something.
28th?
27th,
going to
because we're
Florida
looking
to
at the
Tarpon
28th.
Springs. And the town of Groveland can burn, my house can burn, everything can burn, we're going away, and we're gonna enjoy ourselves.
There's a grove before.
We're gonna Skype
And I'm
you
not
in.
even gonna, I'm not even gonna watch it on cable.
No, you
Yeah,
you
sure.
don't need to watch it on cable, because we're gonna Skype you in. for
Yeah,
that.
there you go.
I asked to Skype in, and we got
You
shut
have to
down.
approve that. You need to approve remote
I'm not Skyping
participation, and
anything
then
in.
all
I'm
of you can
taking a
Skype in, as
vacation
long
and
as
I'm-
the chairman's here.
I don't wanna hear about anything. I'll
You
get it
could
when I
have
come
remote-
home. It's gonna be there when I get home.
Like your attitude, Bill, it's good.
Hey,
Yeah,
I work
and
hard at what I
it's an
do.
easy
It's
policy.
self-preservation,
You
you
just need a
gotta take
quorum
care
and
of
you need the
yourself,
chair.
man.
You gotta let it all vent out.
And then you
don't-
can have a,
don't
you can phone in,
internalize it,
Skype
you
in,
be calling 911.
FaceTime in.
Yeah.
So we can plan another meeting as it gets closer, but again, it would have to be, the warrants have to be out and distributed on the 11th, so we can't even have a meeting that night, because it has to be out that day,
Right, have to be approved April 4th.
or sometime that week. That's really, I did, and I apologize, I forgot to print it. I wanted to just touch base on the town council budget. We are spending more than normal for town council services. So we have, and a lot of it is the zoning bylaw and some other legal matters that have come up that they've spent some time on. Right now, we have enough to cover about $3,400 on average a month. Our December bill was over $9,000. So hopefully, we'll cut that down. I mean, we haven't needed them in a few weeks, so hopefully it'll slow down. But I do have some concerns on town council spending, so just keep that in mind.
And the only people that can talk to town council right now is you or me.
Correct.
Has anyone else been talking to him?
There's been some emails between the planning chairman and the building inspector about the zoning bylaws.
Is that costing us money?
Well, every time that he replies to an email, but most of them have been necessary to fine tune the language and just make sure we have a final
Because
document.
you mentioned that's where a lot of it is coming from.
Correct, so now that I think we have a finalized document as of last night, hopefully we won't need them other than to consult on the public hearing process and town meeting.
I thought we approved the cap on that, $2,500 is all, wasn't it?
You did, and like little emails, but that was after, because that was when I got the December update that you put a cap on it, so.
So that
And the
cap
other
was
thing I
after
had-
they spent 5,000?
On 441 Main Street, I
They were
had,
listening to us on cable, and they're like, oh geez, I better bill that
on
up.
441 Main Street, I had, told them that night we all met, I said, we gotta get this thing down, and we're gonna have to start limiting the money if we don't start getting it down, so I don't know.
And I haven't heard anything on that lately.
I talked to Jeff Blake on it, and it's, waiting to go to the other side still.
So, yeah, I haven't had any updates on that. A couple of them, as you know, we have a cemetery ongoing matter that they've been working on. We're still dealing with the Brandolini matter that's still ongoing.
You heard much on that?
I haven't heard any updates since we met last.
Okay, so that's a good, that's
So
good
they had
news.
pushed
No
off
news
the
is good news.
deposition. So there's just a few ongoing matters that have taken up some time.
But the people should know that if we defend claims, we save money.
Hopefully.
Hopefully.
You gotta spend money to keep the wolves at bay.
Well, hopefully we shouldn't be getting into the messiness to get into these situations, really. So we try to keep it clean, not to get into these situations.
Right, and some of them, I mean,
You
some
can't
of them
help
are
it.
just, we're just
You can't
bystanders in the
avoid it.
middle.
It's,
Right.
litigious society we live in. Americans, want a free lunch, a lot of them.
Okay, so are you good under, are
So
you,
that's really all I have tonight.
Well,
Okay.
I have a question for the finance director. You gave us this finance sheet, expenditures. I noticed we got about 4.1 months to go in the fiscal year. A lot of these accounts, we should be at 63 to 65% right now. A lot of these accounts, here, you're just looking down the page, here's one that's already at 537%. A lot of them, and here's another one, just picking one out, 99.5% have been spended already.
Yeah, so a couple things.
What's that?
I was gonna say, so just to touch on that, so the 537% is tax title. So we don't have to budget for that legally, we can raise that on the recap, so we've raised that deficit, because with tax title, you don't know how many accounts are gonna have to go into title each year. So we did budget 1,250, and obviously, you can see we used 6,700 going through that process.
Isn't that reimbursable, though? You lien them and you recoup the costs?
Correct, eventually we'll recoup the cost, but
So
we
it's
can
an
raise it.
upfront cost. You gotta front it or you can't pursue it.
But when it comes back, it's general fund, it won't go back to this account.
Gotcha.
So we raise it on the
Not a
recap to
direct
cover that.
offsetting account.
Correct. So we raise it on the recap to cover that deficit. So that will go away once we, at the end of the year. The 99% is
But you spent 5,400 on that and you collected how much?
a lot.
100 grand?
Well, you got, one item in the police budget, 138% of that line item has been spent, and the harbor master's expense, 108. Go to fire department, 152.82% on one particular line item, 100% on another. Just the different department budgets. Some of them are, here's another one, and just 81% spent already. It should be, I would think it should be close to 63 to 66, 65.
Right, so they should, but expenses may be different. So some of the expense budgets have contracts that you pay up front, or you pay higher costs depending on the time of year. Some of the ones you specifically pointed out, like the police, that's their training line. We knew they were gonna go over on training, so he's setting aside money in his fuel line. It's gonna be one of those transfers that Dan loves, a budget neutral transfer.
The fuel's only at 37%, and it should be, because we got less than $2 gas,
Correct.
right?
So that's why he's gonna look to transfer to cover his training, and then he's cutting that line next year.
That one makes sense.
The other one is actually vehicle maintenance for the police department, not harbor master, and I believe the chief touched on that, that the cost to maintain those vehicles has increased due to the vehicles themselves. The fire department, the chief has communicated with myself, and I know the chair, that he was going to be over on that line, but he would save additional money, I believe it's the fuel line as well, to offset that.
Use that for radio. The ones that are way under, though, it's like, you got, was it equipment testing? 5650, it's only 9%.
Correct.
So, I mean, if it's over budgeted, 90%, the way I see it.
Correct. So, I mean, those are things,
So that could be paid for the new radios. I mean, these are the things that we can use this as a tool to say, you got an extra $5,000 there.
correct, and those are the things that you should pay attention to. Those are the things that I look at, that if they're at 9% now, and next month it jumps to 70%, are they just spending it? Or was it just because now is when they do their certain testing?
Right.
So those are the things we look at to see, why are they spending it all at the end of the fiscal year versus spreading it out? But some of those are realistic, that, certain testing is done, or certain things happen at different intervals. But the majority of the deficits we have been tracking and are aware of, like the cemetery part-time wages, when we knew back in September that they exceeded their budget line, when they had to terminate the part-time staff. The retirement, our appropriation came in higher
What-
this year, so.
Why wouldn't the veteran benefits be, am I reading that right? Why wouldn't that be linear?
The veterans' benefits are,
Because some things, like you said, I mean, they just do it at a certain time of the year, and that's when they spend the money in it, and so it's not a linear, recurring monthly thing, but why wouldn't?
yes and no, so we pay, so part of what he was alluding to was, and I will say, it was in fact true in the past.
Because it's 41%.
Correct. We pay for reimbursement. So if a veteran moves into town mid-year, we pick up their expenses. If they leave town, we drop their expenses. If their medication changes and we pay their expenses. So veterans' benefits fluctuates from month to month. We don't know 1 month to the next what that amount is gonna be.
And you
Last year, we
you're
were,
always paying in arrears?
last year, we were significantly under and needed to transfer at town meeting to cover because we had veterans move into town that we weren't prepared for. This year, it seems to be the opposite. We're trending under what's been budgeted. So that's sort of a wild card from year to year.
You have no way to track that.
We have no way to track
It's
it.
unpredictable as anything.
Yep. So we budget a safe number, what we think is a safe number, and hope that we stay under that. But
Based-
like I said, last year, we were over.
Like a long-term trend line or something, 10-year trend line, you just take a stab at it.
You
That's-
take a stab and hope that it stays within.
All right. What else? Are you good with your
Does-
finance stuff?
Ed, do you have any other questions?
No.
Then I'm good.
Dan, you're good?
So many numbers, so little time.
All right, so moving forward to Selectmen's time. I'll pass this week because mine will take up like I did last week. I might get to this at the end of budget season, but anyway.
Yeah, I got one. Anybody else has anything? Last week, the cable TV was out again for 3-4 days. And I made a call to Tracy, and it got put back on. You know, this is unacceptable. And we need to address that.
Mr. Chair, if you'd like me to address Tracy Guilford from the Cable Board. When I called Chris in regard to that, what had happened was Charlie had televised one of the other boards that week and had left the switch here on air instead of going back to the bulletin board. So it was as simple as a simple mistake, and he did speak to Charlie tonight regarding that. So it's a simple mistake. I can say I've made that mistake myself.
Right, and we had the cable board in before. We were trying to get them to come back with us with information. We were trying to get them come. They haven't been back before us, but my point is, one of our original conversations was, if there's a person on behalf of cable and that works 19 hours a week for the town of Groveland, it shouldn't take 4 days for that problem to be found. And I actually had called Ed on Sunday night, because I turned it on and it had been off and never got turned back on to Wednesday.
No,
So if this person is supposed to be in town hall doing a job, it should have been picked up. We should not be looking for it. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm wrong. You can correct me if I'm wrong. You're coming in, I know Denise, I had the conversation with Denise. She said, Bill, Monday was a holiday. They couldn't be here anyway. I was like, all right, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. What happened Tuesday and Wednesday? That's all I'm saying. I would still like to have, are you the chair of the board? I would like to still have you guys in. I would like to get those answers I was looking for. And
Well, in answer, we are looking at job description as you had requested, so researching, instead of starting from scratch, you know, I should, just so the people at home, I should be. Yeah, we are doing our research on the job descriptions as you have asked, so we will be working on that soon. And when we have answers on that, be coming back to you to discuss that.
Okay.
As well as other things. Chris came to me tonight. We'll have to meet as a board to discuss some improvements he wants to make to the sound system at the Bagnell School in time for town meeting. So he is doing work, but again, he's a part-time employee.
Right, no, I agree.
I am going to go back to, logging on, sometimes I get busy, and because we hadn't had an issue for a long time, I gotta admit, when I get busy at work, I don't look at the two channels. I am going to start, looking at that, and I know some of you don't believe it's my job, but, I look at it, I work in conjunction with Chris and Charlie to ensure that the system is working, so that, again, I serve, like you do, the people of the town of Groveland, and I look at the cable as being a very important vehicle to provide information to the people of the town of Groveland, since the print media does not cover us at all. So I consider this a vital service that we provide the town of Groveland,
And I agree what you're saying 100%. My point that I tried making is, I'm not trying to put the burden on you. The point is, we have a paid person in that position,
Right.
and I think the paid person should be finding these problems before the selectmen find them.
Yeah, well, he has worked on, a number of issues and working with different vendors, including Comcast. One of the suggestions I've made to him is like, I think that's really important for us to document problems, to identify, I want to know what problems we create for ourselves, but I also want to make it easy for the Board of Selectmen and the board that when we come up for our contract negotiations, that we can hold Comcast to the fire, because some of the problems created are Comcast issues.
I know Denise wants to say something.
Yeah, so just two things. So the first thing I want to say is, I will say that when Bill called me, I texted Chris, and he came down within a half hour. So when he was made aware of it, he came right down and responded. Tracy, I would just like to throw out to the cable committee, I've talked to Chris in the past. There is a piece of software that is actually promoted by our website. It's called Earth Channel. It allows the cable broadcast to be embedded into our website, so anyone in the world can watch the meeting stream live, the message board channel. We've had requests for people who are traveling or out of town that want to watch the meetings live that don't have that capability. And that way, Chris could look from his phone, could look at any computer at any time and see if the channel is up or not. And that's what I used in my prior community, because I oversaw the cable, and that was good for me at home in Billerica to be able to turn it on, log in if I needed to, and have that access. And it also would allow me to watch selectmen's meetings or things like that if I wasn't there. He had said that he needs to bring that before the committee to talk about it, but I
That
mean, it
wasn't
was.
on his list, but, yeah.
So, I mean, I would definitely look into that. It's a benefit to our residents, it's a benefit to him, and would actually make his job a little bit easier. And it's nice that people, because not everyone watches cable, you could see the message board playing right on the website. So sometimes we put messages up on cable for public groups that aren't necessarily on our website, but you could actually see those happening. So, I mean, that would be something that could be utilized for him.
Ed wants to say
You
something.
really want the people all over the world to watch this board in action?
No, but I've had people ask if they're not here, how to watch the meetings live, and there's no
Tracy,
ability to.
Tracy, before you leave the podium,
We're becoming a model for third world countries.
Are they on the agenda to come back?
No.
We will be.
You
We do it, we're not currently on the agenda, but like I say, I've been doing some research, on getting job descriptions rather than start from scratch. What, excuse me?
Yeah, I just, I wanted to follow up when I had asked if you could put on the school committee meetings, and there was some way to do that. Has that been done? I mean, how do we get an update on what's going on?
It hasn't, well, school committee
School
has.
committees have been.
Has
Chris went
been
and
on.
met with the school department, and he is now working to get them.
I had spoken to Tracy about.
That'll be on there,
Tracy-
cycling through.
I spoken to Tracy about also getting, see if we could get the Whittier Votech School Committee on also. But just so within the past couple of days, I've had a couple of people complaining about the audio version of the selectmen's meeting. Very, very difficult again to hear the audio.
Really? I listened to it, and I have had no problems.
And I know one woman had said that some of the members of the Board of Selectmen, it's difficult for them to hear And I know most everybody's moved the mics a little bit closer. I just want, no, no problem with you, Dan.
I shut mine off, because, I don't want to
Part
hurt
of it,
anyone.
I know when I'm sitting back there at the camera, and it's like,
too
it's a
quiet?
fine line between having the microphones close enough to have good voice, but then when some people are moving papers, sometimes you'll notice I'm pulling off my earphones, headphones, because it's like that rustling of paper, sounds really loud.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so.
Tracy, the only thing I'm gonna say is, I have, no patience. Ever since I got into the government, I've gotten a lot more patience, but we're going into another fiscal year,
Yep.
and if I can get you guys back before us, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, and we will be doing that research that you've asked, getting answers, and like I say, we'll work on Ed's request with Whittier to try to get their school committee meetings. Their AV teacher is actually a Pentucket graduate, so I think we'll be able to get that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so anything, anyone else have any on the selectmen's
I
time?
do.
Okay, go ahead.
I would like to have a discussion or to talk about Skyping or dialing in when we're not available to be here in person at one of the next agendas. I know it's probably not gonna happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I'd like to be able to, if I'm away traveling, to at least be able to listen into a live meeting or Skype in with another computer.
Be able to participate in a meeting, have quorum,
So-
be part of quorum.
The open meeting law, and I can actually get you sample policies, so this board would have to accept a remote participation policy. The requirements are the chairman must be present, and there must be a quorum here in order for someone to remotely participate. That could be via the phone, Skype, FaceTime, any medium. So I can give you some sample policies at the next meeting, and the board just has to agree to one and vote, and
Adopt
that could go.
another selectmen's policy, that would be a good one.
Yep, so that's easy enough, I can get those together.
Okay. Okay.
Great.
All right, so I think everyone's all done?
All done.
So at 9:16, we're gonna make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? And please make note that we're half an hour early, all right?
Like that, Bill. Long day, time to go eat supper.
Dan, they can